Your mom and dad. Your mom and dad. Your mom and dad. Your mom and dad.
Welcome home, family. It's
your mom and dad. And baby.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Lee.
I like how we clap every time.
Because in my brain, there's a studio audience.
Right.
It's just the music. Listen, what you've
Right.
you've created an energy with this studio. If you're watching the YouTube with the music, it's very much like this is late night energy. And so I feel like...
You feel like this is a late night show?
How do you think you'd podcast if you had...
An audience?
Like a full... Like there's 20 people. Because I know there's a lot of podcasts, like bigger podcasts, where they'll bring like a crew watching them. There's like 15 of their friends watching.
Right.
I feel like... I don't think I'd do very well.
I think I would thrive in any situation, truly. No, I don't think the 10 people would change me.
Really?
But whenever, I don't know how you guys feel, but anytime I listen to a podcast that was like live on stage, you know how people do like live in person and they like sell clubs out or whatever? The energy is very different because they're a lot more like, yeah! You know what I mean? It's a lot more like...
Yeah, because you got to hype up the crowd.
It's a lot more like, God, yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, it's just a lot more like... And you know what? And the crazy thing is, like, it can be very, like, you know, energetic versus, like, in the studio... I actually think that I would like more people in here.
Wait, for real?
Yeah.
Okay, so for me...
Because it's like more of a party vibe.
It's the way that I feel about if you were to say, Jessica, I need you to sing right now. If there is like a group, if there's a stage and there's 100,000 people watching me... Very different. I think I can tune it out. But I have to sing in front of a group of 10 people. I'm shaking. I'm dripping in sweat. Like the American Idol audition vibes, terrifying, which I did back in the day when I never made it in front of a camera.
Right.
But I did it, and that was not my jam. That was so scary.
Right. And that's actually a good story. But
it's an embarrassing story.
Singing,
but, you know.
to bring up the singing thing is interesting because I am someone who doesn't enjoy at all someone singing not at a place where people are supposed to be singing.
Well, it's kind of how you feel about the whole serenade, which we've discussed.
This was also like a classic like high school thing.
Sure.
You know what I mean? When you're at kind of like a chill party and someone kind of plays guitar and sings.
Yeah, it's the fire pit hang.
And there's a guitar in the corner and then they grab it and they start playing. That makes me want to disown everyone in that group and never talk to them again because just by association with that person, it's such a betrayal to me of my energy. If you're going to bust a guitar out, the only time I'm okay with it is if you're a super famous person. So like if we were at...
Does that not give you the ick? If like let's just say we happened to be at a fire pit hang and some like super famous musician...
Here's the perfect setup.
Like
no.
strumming, I'd feel a little bit like...
No, brutal.
A little braggy, even though I enjoy it, but it's a little braggy.
I'm not talking famous. I'm talking like you're at a party. Late night, everyone's very drunk. And someone convinces Paul McCartney to get on the piano and start singing hits. That's when I'm like... This is amazing.
He's famous. Yeah. You said not famous.
No. I said not famous. I mean like iconic.
Oh, okay.
We're at David Bowie's house party.
Sure. Like Elton John. You say Elton John.
Elton John is begging David Bowie to hop on and sing that song.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, oh my God, we're watching David Bowie and he's reluctantly performing for us. Other than that,
you have a high bar, my friend.
Massive bar. Other than that,
high bar.
Because that is the only time it's appropriate to willingly shut down an energy of a party, or because it takes it to a next level. But when someone starts singing at a party, now everyone has the like, I got to be quiet now and sit here and put my drink down and stop my conversation and watch this guy play. And if he's just like this guy Kevin. Then it's like,
you mean old Kev?
You know what I'm saying? If it's like Greg's friend Kevin and he plays a little guitar and he's singing, you know, Champagne Supernova in the corner, dude,
It's going to be Wonderwall, obviously.
That's what I meant, Wonderwall. It is the worst thing ever.
You know what?
And his 3 friends are like, oh my God, Kevin's amazing. It's literally my worst nightmare.
I'm down with someone busting out like piano, guitar, singing if it's a small vibe and it's kind of like they're playing in the background and it's like a great ambiance. But the second that it's a small group and it's like, hey, I want to play, it's the same exact way that I feel when someone's looking into my eyes, serenading me. I don't know what to do with my hands. I don't know how to react. I feel like, I want to support this person, but I'm like, what's too much? I have a hard time balancing like how much energy then I should put in. And like you said, typically it interrupts an interesting conversation. I'm like, well, I was in the middle of telling Katie about,
this thing.
What went down last weekend, and now I got to watch Kev.
It's so brutal. And another thing too is when there's always like that one friend that's like, Jess, you're such a good singer. Sing for us. And now you have to awkwardly shut down 10 people that are now looking at you to be like, how is she going to respond to this person?
For
and then
me,
if you do it, it's like,
I've done it before and I'll do it again.
There's only one answer.
I've done it before and I'll do it again. If you ask, I'm honored by that. If someone is like, I can get a little uncomfy if there's, if it's a small group.
No, yeah.
But it makes me feel very special.
Sweet. Oh, I'm so happy for you. No, don't do it. No one ever do that. Doesn't matter how many times they ask you, say, oh, stop. And then you just walk away. You know what I mean? Because it is such a derailer.
Are you skeptical of today? It's like we had Hangover Ev, Therapy Ev, we had Day of Reckoning. No,
everything's fine.
Skeptical Ev?
No, everything's totally good. I just have
because
these
we're
rules.
about to dive into some serious love business. Ooh. And I'm like, are you going to be skeptical of these relationships that we found out?
No, are you kidding me? None of these relationships are skeptical. This is all perfect love.
Netflix, you got me. You tricked me.
Oh yeah, big time.
You goddamn got me.
There was one, the big one got me for sure.
I was so shaken. I was wrong about everything except Tiffany and Brett. Well, actually, Paul and Micah, I guess I was right about that. But I was shocked by how it went down. They got me.
They bamboozled you?
They totally bamboozled me, and I loved it because it did shake me to my core. And it was nice. There were so many happy couples in the end.
You weren't shocked? I was shocked that Jackie and Marshall didn't stay together. No, I'm just kidding.
He was bewildered. Okay, I do want to talk before we dive into all the recapping, speaking of Hangover Ev, Day of Reckoning Ev, about where this Jess is at, what Jess I am today. But first, we do have to take a quick pause. So family, do you love your cat but not love the smell of their litter box? Well, then let us tell you about Pretty Litter. Nothing beats Pretty Litter's ability to instantly trap odor. It's ultra absorbent, it's lightweight, low dust, and 1 6-pound bag works for up to a month without clumping. That means no more wasting litter.
Yeah, and what can really give you peace of mind is Pretty Litter's crystals change color to indicate early signs of potential illnesses in your cat, like urinary tract infections, kidney issues, and more. And Pretty Litter ships free right to your door, and no more having to lug a huge tub of litter from the store to your car and into your house.
Yeah, my family switched to Pretty Litter years ago, and they've never gone back because it's just that good for you and your cute kitties. Make the switch today. Go to prettylitter.com/momdad and use code MOMDAD to save 20% on your first order. That's prettylitter.com/momdad, code MOMDAD to save 20% on your first order. prettylitter.com/momdad, code MOMDAD. Terms and conditions apply. See site for details. Pretty Litter really is very amazing. You should check it out. Okay, so before we get into the recap of episode 10 through the finale, we did it. We got the weddings.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I needed to have a moment. I decided, I told you before we started the episode that I was going to have a moment of honesty with the family. So like I said, you came swinging the other day, Hangover Ev, Therapy Ev, Day of Reckoning Ev. Today, you are receiving post-panic attack anxiety, Jess. That's who I am today. So here's the truth of the matter. At first, I didn't want to talk about it. I was like, you know what? Because sometimes, I don't know. I'll get in my head and I'll feel like the audience probably thinks, there she goes again at the top of the episode. She's anxious again. It's the same thing, and I almost didn't say anything because I can get in my head, but I don't know. I was on Instagram earlier today and I saw someone who had posted something and was being like really transparent about the state of their mental health. And so many of the comments were just like, get over it, like deal with it. Da, 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 da. And it was really shocking to me because I'm like, I feel like we've progressed so much in society when it comes to dealing with mental health and everything. And so it was a shock for me. So after I saw that, I was like, you know what? I want to share with the family.
Yeah.
I feel like I have a privilege of having, you know, somewhat of a platform. And I know for myself, when I see other people talking about it, it makes me feel less alone. So I know time and time again, you'll hear from me. Yes, I'm anxious at the top of the episode. She's struggling. The bipolar hits, all that. But I just feel like I'm going to keep doing it. And I'm sorry if, you know, some people are like, here we go again. But I feel like it's important to be completely transparent and straight up. And your girl has been a panic attack mess the past couple days. It's been a rough couple days. And I don't know. I just want to share so people feel less alone. I feel like you were talking about your day of reckoning the other day, and I know that it's a whole different vibe and it's funny, but I do feel like then people can relate with that feeling. And I know I'm sure so many people listening are like, yeah, I feel a little less alone because I have those days, baby.
Yeah.
I don't know. And so for me, I just wanted to share that. And so if you're having one of those days, if you're in the heat of anxiety, in the heat of panic attacks, depression, whatever it is, know you are not alone. And I was excited to come on today because during times when I'm feeling, you know, super anxious or having a panic attack, talking about reality TV shit makes me feel better. Talking about this and distracting myself. And honestly, I know it's so cliche, but laughter is the best medicine for me. Yeah. And I appreciate you making me laugh. It makes me feel good. And I don't know. I just wanted to share that quickly.
Is there a reason why you're anxious, or is it just life stuff? Is it just chemistry? Like, what do you feel is causing this anxiety?
I was feeling really good, and I think it's just chemistry for me. Obviously, the state of the world doesn't help sometimes, but like I think for me, a lot of it's chemistry. The way that I look at anxiety, panic attack, depression, all of that, it's like having the worst neighbor in the entire world. Like the neighbor who never asks if they can be invited over and just like then bangs down your front door and is like, I'm coming over and I'm staying for the next 24 hours. And you never have any like notice of when they're going to come over, no preparation. They just knock down your door and they're like, I'm here. I'm sitting in your living room. I'm going to trauma dump on you. I'm going to make you feel bad about yourself. And I'm not going to let you know when I'm leaving, but I'm here. Yeah. And I think a lot of that's, a chemistry thing. Obviously it can be very motivated by triggers around you, but I was doing well and it just came knocking at my door.
I think that's something that, like, not to cut you off, but just
please.
Like someone who doesn't have bipolar and anxiety disorder and these things, my mom had it, or my mom has it, and I grew up with it. And, is what's interesting to me about it. And I'm just like, the reason why I'm talking right now is more to bring up the other side of the coin, which is like, you have it, I don't. And as much as I can try to understand it, it still is something I don't get. Like, I don't know, it's something that like I try to understand and I try to go, well, what are you anxious about? Well, what is it? Let's try not to have the thing trigger it again or whatever. Yeah. But at some point, like there are many levels to where it's like, it's not triggered by something. It's literally your body just like, literally turning on you and just saying, we are going to have, I'm going to present to you like a bad situation. It's that terrible
neighbor coming over.
Yeah. Like bang down your door, Yeah. And, I don't know, something that like is tough for me, but then also like is an encouraging reminder is that like, I won't get it. Like my stress is triggered by things, right? Like if a thing at work, it doesn't go right, I'm stressed. Something goes good, I'm good. You know what I mean? It's simple. It's like normal stress or whatever. But like, so for me, it's like I'll get really sucked up into like what's going on, or are you okay, or how do we figure this out? But it's like it doesn't work like that. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I just think that like for being a partner, you know what I mean? It's like, first of all, I want to apologize for constantly trying to fix it when you have those moments, you know what I mean?
It's okay. If I were you, I'd do the exact same
But I know
thing.
that can also be more stressful. You know what I mean? Like it's not only not helpful sometimes, but it can be more stressful. So definitely, I think if full transparency as well, guys, before this episode, I was in fix it mode and I was like going, well, let's hear this. Let's fix this. And I watched the stress levels rising and I'm going, well, this makes no sense to me. I'm giving you options. Why is it stressful? You know? And it's like just being a support and just being there for you, you know, just like how you are for me when I'm stressed just because of general work or whatever, you know? And I think that it's really helpful that you're sharing this.
Thanks.
And that you're being honest about kind of how you feel right now because, you know, I don't know. Sometimes we can give the impression or people can get the impression that like everything's fine all the time. And it's like, dude, we record every single week and you think that every time we walk in here, everything's peachy.
I know for myself when I see like social media and I being someone who has struggles with my mental health, I feel like so often what I see from people, and of course there are so many creators who are like so vulnerable out there and no one is owed anything. Like no one has to share that. But I know for myself, I'll sometimes look online and I'll be like, oh my God, how is everyone handling all this and not having a full meltdown? And am I the only one? And I can get really caught up in that. And so it is important for me, I think, to be honest, even if it is redundant sometimes on this platform to be like, hey, just FYI, if you're not doing well, I got you. Like I'm also Spiral City right now and it's not together, even if it seems like it is, because this is the time when, you know, like I said, this for me is self-care. Like talking, laughing in the room with you guys, talking about reality TV, having a good time makes me feel good. So you're seeing me in my moment of like, I'm taking care of myself right now, you know, but sometimes then when I leave those doors, it's like,
right.
You know, just falling down a well. But, you know, I appreciate you apologizing. There's no need to. But speaking of that, just aside, as a little tip for anyone listening who struggles with their mental health, I think one of the biggest forms of self-care that you can do is know that if you're able, you have the ability to choose your partner and your chosen family or friends around you. And that makes a huge difference. Like the partner you choose, the friends you choose, that is a game changer. You know, when you feel safe, when you feel supported. I know I've always felt so safe with you and to be whatever place I'm at and where I can communicate how I'm feeling. And my friends in the past weren't always that way. And now as I've gotten older, I've chosen friends who help me, you know, and I think that's a huge piece of self-care that you can put in your mind too. Yeah.
Like another thing too is like selecting boundaries and time too. Cause like you can just have these things happen to you. Like, let's say you get like an anxiety attack or you like a panic attack or something. And then you just don't change anything about your day. You just push through and then you like snap twice as hard at the end as opposed to like, okay, how about we delete that? How about we delete that?
We were going to record this
functions? We tried to record this episode like 3 times.
And Evan, speaking of self-care partner, you know, has been the person who's like, it's okay, let's move it to tomorrow. Let's move it to tomorrow. And then I'm now at a place where I'm like, all right, I'm past the panic attacks and now I'm a little shaky, but now we're good. And now, you know, this then makes me feel healed and good and brings on that joy. So I appreciate that. So thank you all for being here with me in a place where I get to heal. Like this is a healing time for me. So today, let it be known, she is shaky. She's a little brain foggy, probably not going to be sharp and on top of remembering all the details of this episode, but I am ready to have fun. I want to have a good old time. And honestly, too, off of this, there's been a lot of conversation. There's a lot of Love is Blind contestants coming out and, in fact, suing the franchise, I believe. Jeez. We'll get into this next week. We're going to talk the reunion and everything that's currently happening, all the tea, the post interviews, all of that. But a lot of contestants are out suing Love is Blind because of the lack of mental health protection. You know, threatening to sue contestants if they don't stay till the wedding. Right. So then all of a sudden you're looking at these people going, why aren't you leaving yet? And that's not to dismiss any behavior that's not kind to other people. But then it also gives you perspective of like, wow, this is unhealthy circumstances that people are under. You know, maybe there's more going on behind the scenes and all that. It's just a good reminder to extend grace. So I'm like, today I want to have fun. We're going to have fun because there was a lot of love and a lot of fun moments in this. And I just...
Well, can we do a collective deep breath?
Yes, I would love to do that with everyone this morning.
I want your face in that mic. I want to hear your breath. Okay.
Sorry to start everyone's morning out with this.
No, this is real. You know, this is a part of the family.
This is the reality. This is the family, and we're about to have a great time. But it's honesty hour first.
This is like, when your dad, you go to the family reunion, but your dad's like literally swearing into the mashed potatoes as he's making them. This is us not trying to do that. This is us being like, let's talk about what the issues are. It's him, instead of him just like in the kitchen, just bearing all his emotions, raging into like the chili that he's making. And like he just takes so many trips to the backyard to keep nailing the wood or whatever. And we're like, Dad never comes in. He's just like building a fence for 6 years. It's like, that's because he's not doing this. He's not talking. You know what I mean?
It's true.
I literally had one of my best friends growing up. His dad like just lived outside because like he had so much rage built up that all he would do was just projects. 24/7 projects.
Because we're not communicating.
It's 10 p.m.
what
at night.
he's
outside like working on the side of like the storage bin. He's just for no reason, just like painting it again. I don't know what he was doing, but it was just like years of built up calloused rage. And this is not what we're doing here. We're not building.
No, we are out
barns.
here. We are your parents out here trying to heal and grow from the past generations. We are moving forward. We are talking about our mental health. We're talking about our traumas and all of this. We love to see it. Okay.
Deep breath on 3. Well, actually, I heard that if you do one big breath and then you let it out halfway, and then you breathe in all the way again. It's like the Wim Hof thing.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
It like oxygenates your brain. So what we're going to do...
Wait. So I breathe full in.
So we breathe all the way out.
All the way out.
Yeah, and then you breathe all the way in, like as much as you can.
Okay.
And then you breathe halfway out, and then you breathe all the way in again.
Okay.
I'll try to remember.
Do it like, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, start with no air in your lungs.
Okay.
Get full breath, and instead of going full out again, you go like half out, and then you go full up again. And you do that like, let's say 3 times.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Sure.
So you only do the out. You only start all the way out. As you can tell, I'm a master of the craft. Okay. Look, I'm giving her more anxiety. Okay. Here we go. So we just start all the way out, and then we go up half, up half, up half. That's it. Ready? Okay. All the way out. One more. All the way out. Yeah, I just pass out.
I'm like, I feel a little dizzy.
No, I'm high, man. That's life. I'm high on life, my guy. Lee's like, dude, you changed my life.
I love this stuff.
You like the breathing stuff?
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, you're welcome. All your anxiety's fixed.
It's all gone.
Isn't that crazy how simple that is?
It's crazy how it's all gone now. Oh, no, but thank you guys. I appreciate
Love
that.
you, mama.
Love you.
Love you.
Love you. Love you. All right. Should we dive into this?
Of course we should. Let's go.
10 through the finale. 12, like I said, next week, reunion. We're going over then all the tea and all that fun stuff. But we got to talk finale.
Yes.
All right. Something that I would like to bring up because what I could not get over in this episode, it's all I could think about. I'm skipping to the end. At the very end, when the officiant had to say to each person, now's the time. You know, after we have everyone doing their vows, telling each other how much they love each other, the officiant says, now's the time we find out, is love truly blind?
Yes.
And then they have to decide if they're going to say yes or no. And I was thinking about, can you imagine if this was, like, think about, that's your wedding. Imagine going to an actual wedding. Like, you have no idea. You're just going to I guess these are actual weddings, but think about, like, you know, your friends like come to my wedding and there's a chance, that the other person, like a high chance they might say no. How many more weddings would you want to go to? I mean, that's wild. That's like some soap opera shit.
I want to go to weddings where they say yes to marry.
Okay.
Or $100,000 to say no. That's what I want to go to.
That's a great new twist on this show.
That's a great new twist because what it does is it really tests you.
It really does. I mean, that's a big test. $100,000. Yeah.
Not 10 grand. Like $100,000. $100,000 is enough to like really make you go like, that's a good salary. You know what I mean? Like that's
an
like
amazing salary.
That's what I'm saying. It's
Yeah.
like that's a full-time job of a high-paying person for a year. Something to really like to where they gotta. How much do I really like this person?
That's a great twist. They should add that.
Mm-hmm.
They should. But think about going to any person's wedding and viscerally knowing that when the officiant says, "Do you accept this person?" that there's a high chance that they're going to say no. Imagine like every wedding being on the edge of your seat, like full nail biter wedding. Like, are they going to do this? Because, I mean, obviously, I've never been to a wedding where someone says no.
That's true.
I mean, I don't know. I would love, actually, you know what? Family, if you've ever been to a wedding where someone says no, please send a message to the call home hotline because I would like to hear this story. I've never been. I don't know anyone who's ever been. Maybe the person is very much regretting it. I've definitely heard of those stories where it's like, I don't want to do this. And then they get an annulment quite quickly after. But in front of everybody being like, nah, I can't do this. The drama of it, like, you don't want to see the heartbreak, but the drama of it.
You want to see the heartbreak because it really enhances the drama.
Imagine this. You know how we were talking about how I really want to renew our vows, which I know people always say is like the kiss of death. It's like the real.
Is it really?
It's the real housewife kiss of death. If you are one of the Real Housewives, the second a Real Housewife says, my husband and I are renewing our vows, they always end up getting a divorce 6 months later. Always.
I can understand why though. Because if you're already just kind of like barely making it, and then someone in the relationship is like, we should renew our vows, then you're like,
you think the ick sets in?
Yeah, the ick sets in because you're like forcing me to get like more into this where I'm already barely hanging on for the kids. So then you're forcing me to be like, look at me in the eyes and tell me how much you love me. It's like, ugh. And then all of a sudden the person's like, now I've just had too much.
Sure.
So it makes sense that like why those people are like, who generally are the most healthiest relationships.
Well, hopefully that's not our vow renewal.
Oh, it's going to be insane. No. I'm just saying
but think about this. If we decide that we're going to for sure do a vow renewal, imagine the invites we send out to everyone.
Will they do it?
No. Everyone show up on this date. We're either going to announce our divorce or renew our vows. That's fun.
I like that.
That's fun. It's terrifying and sad, but everyone's going to come.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's going to be a little bit like, hold on, is this some fucking new LA thing where like they announce their divorce together publicly?
I like this.
This is a fun twist.
I like this a lot. I like this a lot because...
And then people can have bets going.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
It's like half the crowd's like, yeah.
Yes, and you have like before we come out, there's like a table and there's shots. People are like getting a little freaky. It's getting a little weird. And then there's a table where you can place your bets. Like, are they announcing their divorce or are they?
And we're the house, so then we can rig it. So we can see that a bunch of people put the money on the divorce, and then we get remarried. Or if
oh my god, so we have a scheme going.
It's a whole money making scheme.
I love this with it.
And we do this with other people too. And we make it a whole thing.
Yeah, it becomes a whole.
It's a
deal.
business. No, but yeah, we really have gotten rid of like the anxiety behind like watching a wedding because there's two things. There's the like, do you guys want to get married moment, and there's also like, does anyone object?
Oh, I've dreamed.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, the movie thing.
The movie thing.
Dreamed of being at a wedding where someone objects.
I wonder
to
what
this
the
wedding.
history is between that.
Oh, there's got to be some crazy,
it's gotta be
like
some
misogynist, creepy
It's
history.
probably back in the day.
No, it's definitely some
but the fact that
terrible misogynist
But the fact
history.
that it's still like kind of a thing. Does anyone object? First of all, no one does that anymore. But that would be funny to go to a wedding where someone does that. It's
I can't lie to you. If it was our wedding and someone objected, I would have been
kind of loved it.
Yeah, I would have been thrilled. It would have been like, we're keeping this man on his toes. If like some guy in the audience would have been like, I object. I've always loved Jessica. And
First of all, why couldn't it have been some absolute smoke model who comes in and is just like, I object. He's mine. I never got a good shot at him. Why does it have to be a guy? You just assumed that you were going to be the one that was going to be objected over. This is unbelievable, you guys. This shows you the ego we're dealing with here. I think that I would have been objected over.
I would have been.
Come to our vow renewal.
No, but it would have been like, it's kind of an ego
Two
boost.
people object. They both object.
Oh my
God. And
God.
then they fall in love. Shit.
Or they start fighting in the audience.
And they start making out.
Sure.
Okay,
I mean,
cool.
that makes it,
And he goes,
again.
yeah.
But you can't help but you get an ego stroke if all of a sudden it's your wedding and someone's like, I've always been in love with them.
Yeah.
I object. I
fun.
wouldn't
Oh
have.
my-
I
wait.
wouldn't have hated it.
I just like remember this crazy story, which was my buddy had a wedding, his sister's wedding,
Okay.
and he was in a band. Like the best man was in the band, and they played a song, and this dude was about to grab the mic and confess his love. Like the whole
Stop
thing,
it!
like I always loved you, and my buddy like ran and unplugged the cable
Because he knew
before
he saw it coming.
He saw it coming,
in the middle of the wedding.
like in the middle of the wedding. Like was about to like grab the mic and like in the party.
You should have let him do
I'm gonna be
that.
honest, like I respect your friends so much for doing that to like not ruin their day, but like again, what an ego stroke that would have been. Can you imagine the drama?
It would have been insane.
Everyone knows if you're getting married, you want everyone to talk about your wedding until the end of time. It's like you want everyone to be like, wow, that was the most romantic, fun wedding I've ever been to. Come on. You have someone planted in the audience to object to your wedding. You give people the drama
That's
they
actually
want
a
so
really
badly.
Good theater. You're saying to like create the
I
theater.
would have hired one of my theater friends if I would have thought of it to do it.
Oh my god.
So
He would have fainted. He would have
like,
taken it really over the
"Jessica."
top. And he would have spoken in an accent too. Like
How art thou?
you're like, doesn't that guy not have an accent? He's like speaking in a British accent. He's like, Jessica, my God, I've always loved you. I've pined for you since the moment we met on the stage, my darling. And then you
First of all,
passes
you
out.
said British. Now you're just like 50s.
well, that's like a Shakespeare.
It was kind of a Shakespeare vibe. Hey, don't ruin my party.
No, that would be fun though. That would be fun. You know how people do like stupid dances where they all come out and they're all like,
Like the mob, the
yeah,
flash
not
mob.
into that. Another
I know,
grumpy
that's
Evan
not-
moment.
that's a grumpy Evan moment. Evan cannot do
if I'm
the-
at a
the
wedding
dance.
and all of a sudden like everyone starts
There's a
doing some like
choreographed dance.
choreographed thing, I'm out.
Evan's out.
Can't do
He's
that.
out.
It's
I
another-
appreciate the dance.
No, I
moves.
don't do it. Okay. But another thing, I mean, listen.
So rude.
Another thing they do at the weddings too. We even kind of did it at ours, which is like what everyone does, which is like the re-entrance. Why do people do that?
Because you want people to cheer for you.
But like, no, I'm not saying the married couple. Yes, I'm talking about the how like. Even in a
bridesmaids
wedding
and
I was not long ago in, I was with a bridesmaid and we had to come in and like dance our way into the party. I hated that. Anyway,
I loved being the bridesmaid to do that. I love it. You
see,
get
that's
your
all.
moment.
That's all like whack theater. Real theater.
You give them a real.
Real theater is like put people in the wedding to where like you don't know who they are or why they're there, and like they're sitting like you're at a table. You're at a table and that you stick one rando at the table. Or no. You stick a fake couple at the table. And like,
get
oh
into a
yeah, I'm
fight.
with Kat. And they're like, well, fuck you. And they start screaming. They're throwing wine at each other. And they're like, oh man, they have to be dragged out by security. And then all of a sudden, like, you know what I mean? They all this stuff. And then someone's going, I always loved you, Jessica. And I tackle him. Like, that's real
No,
theater.
this is actually genius. Please,
is
someone
like-
take this idea.
It's like a consulting firm could do this. Be like, oh,
I'm
we have
obsessed.
like actors, and we'll program an idea for your wedding to like make everyone like on
yeah,
edge.
if you can do murder mystery parties, like make my wedding
Dude,
fucking
honestly,
pop
this is a
off.
fire idea.
Make my wedding pop
like
off.
you hire a firm to come in and they like create like moments in your wedding that are fucking crazy. Like, you know what
It's
I mean?
everything.
Like some guy comes out, he's like, oh my God, he's bleeding and like gushing blood. He's like, ah, and they like drag him out and like, is he alive? I don't know.
And then they do
like,
a murder mystery right in the middle and they
Yeah.
like find out. And then they locked all the doors and they're
Yeah.
like, someone in this room
Someone
did it.
in this room
and no
did it.
one
It
can
was
leave.
freaking
no
out.
one can leave this fucking reception until we find out.
Who
There's
did
a
it?
guy who comes out, he's like, I'm a detective and I know one of you. And he's starting to pull people aside. Oh my God.
This is a sick idea.
This is a sick idea. I feel like we have maybe our new business venture.
This is a
Trademarked.
sick idea.
We'll call it Ruin Your Wedding. But
No,
like,
no,
of course,
no.
it's the opposite.
No, it's got to be like the conglomerate company. You know, it's got to be like mysterious.
Like a shady
like
name.
it's
Yeah, kinda
underground.
shady.
Like you
Yeah.
got to know someone who knows someone who can get you their card and call us. Like this is not like on Yelp.
You know how I'm going to find everybody? I'm going to literally go to Universal Studios during Halloween Horror Nights, and I'm going to start talking to the actors. I'm going to hand them business cards. And I'm like, you all crush during this.
Smart.
Like, I got another gig for you. Business cards, business cards, business cards.
How lit would it be if you went to a wedding and all of a sudden just shit starts popping off? What a wedding for the ages.
A wedding for the ages. Honestly, you think Love is Blind weddings are popping off? You think you're on the edge of your
nothing.
seat and wondering what these people are going to say? Come to one of our weddings that we're going to put on, okay? It's going to blow your mind. Okay.
What a tangent.
Sorry,
That was
everybody.
lit. No, that was sick.
This is why we couldn't recap all the episodes at once, because we're 40 minutes in
We're
or
having too
whatever.
much fun, man.
All right. Before we officially dive in, sorry everybody, to this finale, we have to take a quick pause. Family, I will never forget the moment I discovered all the things I was subscribed to and paying for that I completely forgot about. Like, Jess, where were you when you decided to pay for an app that turned me into a mythical creature that charges me $8 a month? After I saw myself as a phoenix, I was done. I didn't need to keep having the app and paying for it every single month, okay? Well, this doesn't happen to me anymore because of Rocket Money.
I love Rocket Money.
Yes.
It's saved us so much money. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spendings, and helps you lower your bills all in one place. Over 80% of people have subscriptions they forgot about. And chances are, like us, you definitely have one of them. Rocket Money will quickly and easily find your subscriptions for you. And for any of you that don't want to pay anymore, just hit cancel and Rocket Money will cancel it for you. It's that easy.
For real, Rocket Money saved me personally about $1,000 last year. They make something so simple that I dreaded doing before. Lord knows I wasn't going to find all of my subscriptions and sit down on long call wait times to cancel all of these. Rocket Money does it with a click of a button.
Yes, stop throwing your money away. Cancel unwanted subscriptions and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/momdad. That's rocketmoney.com/momdad. rocketmoney.com/momdad.
Listen, if you run a small business, then you know how incredibly rewarding it is, but also how stressful it can be when every person, moment, and penny counts in your business. You can't afford to take any of them for granted. Stamps.com gets that because for the last 25 years, they've been helping businesses like yours save time and money so you can focus on your business, knowing Stamps.com has all your postage needs covered with premium discounts and great rates. What a huge way to remove some serious stress. Honestly, I know over the years, Stamps.com has removed that stress for us and put our minds to ease, for the past 10 something years.
Seriously.
A long time.
With Stamps.com, all you need is a computer and a printer. They even send you a free scale, so you'll have everything you need to get started. If you need a package pickup, you can easily schedule it through your Stamps.com dashboard. And if you sell products online, Stamps.com seamlessly connects with every major marketplace and shopping cart.
And like I was saying before, money, running a business is not cheap, especially when it comes to fulfilling orders for your customers. Well, guess what? Stamps.com has huge carrier discounts up to 84% off USPS and UPS rates. Plus, Stamps.com automatically tells you your cheapest and fastest shipping options. Set your business up for success when you get started with Stamps.com today. Sign up with promo code MOMDAD for a special offer that includes a 4-week trial plus free postage and a free digital scale. No long-term commitments or contracts. Just go to Stamps.com, click the microphone at the top of the page, and enter code MOMDAD. All right, well, let's officially start this recap of episodes 10 through 12.
We were trying to start the recap 20 minutes ago, but then, we did what we do, which is got on a bit.
We do what we do. Okay. But honestly, let's do this. Obviously, we've got to talk about Jackie and Marshall at the top here, and then couple to couple.
Got it.
Which I think we can interweave.
Yeah.
We'll be all over the place.
Yeah.
Mostly couple to couple.
Yes.
We'll figure it out.
You don't come here for breaking news journalism. You come here because we have a good time.
And that's that. Okay. What's not a good time is how we start the episode off with a Josh and Jackie conversation.
Marshall.
No, Josh
Oh,
and
sorry.
Jackie.
Yes. Josh and Jackie.
Where they're having their date. And basically, long story short, we end up having
This is brutal.
a moment where Josh confesses his love. Jackie's like, Marshall's too sensitive for me. Don't really care. I'm going in. Jackie lets the audience know that she's not, the whole legal marriage thing, she's not
on board.
not on board for. So that's not even on the table for her with anyone, but she's down to give Josh a try. Now, apparently there's a bunch of potential drama and tea attached with the timing of all this, which we'll get into next week when we break down all of the reunion and all the post info that's happened since. But these two decide that they're going to try to make it work.
I mean, I don't know if they're still together, but it did just feel like for her out of Marshall. Like it did feel like he just came at the right time. Like she was already just at the brink with him. And so he came in to kind of swoop her out of like her anxiety. You know what I mean?
She was done. She's been done with Marshall for a while. Like we've said from the very beginning, it's clear that she's not attracted to Marshall. She's not interested in Marshall. And she's like, okay, Josh is this option. Yeah. We were vibing. She did say that when she would hear Josh's voice in the pods, that it made her nipples hard. This, though I'm not a Jackie fan, this I did relate to. My nipples do get hard. The audience knows on a regular basis when I get excited, they get hard. Do your guys' nipples get hard when you get excited?
Not, I mean, maybe when it's cold.
Cold, yeah.
They could cut glass when it's cold.
Yeah, but again, I can't remember the last time I was cold and my nipples were hard. So my nipples are very not reactive to my emotions or the weather. It's more like if I could only think of a time that my nips were hard, it was like a weather issue.
Like when I have a thrilling moment during one of these episodes and something exciting happens, like they're hard immediately. Like if I'd be with someone and they'd be like looking at my nipples to be like, oh, is she aroused? It'd be like, no, I might have just like heard a good bit of tea and my nipples just get hard
you got
like
tea
that.
Nips.
I don't.
You got like nipples that are like, oh, it's about to rain. You know what I mean? Like
it's like my knees.
Yeah, my knees are singing.
My nips is hard.
Yeah, my nips is hard. The tea's inbound. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you're like, oh shoot, man. Have you heard the gossip about these people? It's like dying. She got rain nips.
So I was like, Jackie, though, I don't feel like I'm not a fan, but I do relate to that moment of the nipples getting hard, hearing a certain voice, hearing certain info. Sure. They'd also get hard when I'm aroused as well. Sure. It's all of that.
And I will say, as a guy, if I'm talking to someone and they tell me my nipples got hard when I heard your voice, I mean, I am on cloud 47 at that point. I mean, I got to say, that is quite the compliment. You know what I mean?
That was wild. That was
wild.
But all of this is happening. And then we see Marshall back at the tux fitting and he's finding out that she was not there at the wedding dress fitting. He's like, it got real for her and she's running. He says this. I'm like, I think when he said it got real for her and she's running, I don't think that that's the case. I don't think it got real and she ran. And I think he probably feels that deep, but it just hurts too badly because Marshall really did everything he could. I mean, this man did everything he could to make it work, in my opinion.
Yeah.
He was as gracious, as loving, as like would push when he was trying to hear Jackie out always. He did everything he could. And we hear him say that he's done. So when these two end up, they go back to their condo and Jackie's just sitting there and she's just like, hey, by the way, it's not going to happen.
It was rough.
It was brutal.
Because my whole thing too is like, there is the unfortunate moment when you have to break someone's heart, right? It's inevitable for most people who have gone through heartbreak. But there's a difference between breaking someone's heart and saying, hey, don't love you anymore. Thank you for trying. Thanks for this journey, but we got to move on. And then like hurting them on the way out. Yeah. I think that it was like the big difference. You know what I mean? It was like all the jabs that were taken.
Exactly. And that's,
that's
we
don't need to do this.
Seeing.
Can't you just leave it alone? Can't you just say, I'm sorry. Thank you. You're a great guy.
Right.
We need to move on. But not like attack someone's whole life on the way out.
And that's what we've been seeing through these past few episodes. It's like so understandable when this is not your person, you're not vibing with them, but it doesn't excuse then just taking jabs at somebody, like you said, and hurting someone's character. And she started off though by kind of being like the outside world like caught up to us.
Yes.
And he did call her out and go like, us or you, like don't make this about me. Like this isn't about me. You're not into this. Like be direct with me. Like
I was
give
like firing
me the honest
someone
truth.
and being like, but you don't like this job anyway, right? And they're like, no, I love working here. And you're like, we hate it. And you're like, no. And like, fine, you fucking suck and you're a bad employee. You're like, oh, you know what I mean? It's like
1,000%.
One comment I did want to make on this though.
Yeah.
Was the ring keeping situation.
Yes.
That was like an interesting moment because it was kind of like at first I was like disgusted, right? Like how dare you keep his ring? But then I thought to myself, you know, it is hard to give back. You know what I mean? Because it's like someone giving you a car. I mean, it's literally people spend so much money on these things. She's like, someone gave her like this super expensive thing. And then she's like, well, you did say I could have it. You know what I mean? It was just kind of like I can't. If I was him, I would have like stood my ground. No, give it back.
No, I need it right now.
No, because I'm gonna need to return this thing because I don't have 7 of these things. I'm gonna need to return this thing for my next option.
Well, here's the side note. This ring is not bought by him.
Is it bought by the show, you think?
Yes, the show buys the ring.
So then she really like worked the system in that way.
Well, I'm sure she did not get to keep the ring.
You don't think so?
No, I'm sure it's just like The Bachelor. The Bachelor has like a time stipulation on it,
You
like
have
where
to
if
be
you
with
end
the
up
person,
breaking up,
yeah.
I think it's a year or something that you have to be with the person, and then you can keep the ring after a year.
I mean, depending on the cost of the ring, I would
You're
go
like-
in on it with the person and be like, hey, can we just say we're
gonna split
together and
this
then we'll
ring?
split the deal?
What are
You know
these
what I mean?
Neil Lane beauties?
Like, we'll split this bad
Come on.
boy.
No, so I think when he made the comment about the ring,
Yeah.
because obviously the show provides the ring, that to me was definitely like a moment of like, I'm hurting right now.
Yeah.
Give me the ring back. Like,
Yeah,
even
like
if,
it symbolizes you betraying me and then saying I'm going to keep it the house.
because
you know
this
what I mean?
comes right after, she was laying on hard about how she tried, but she's attracted to Josh. And when she saw Josh, she just like wants to be with him.
Yeah.
And so he's hurting, obviously, again, because he's put so much of his vulnerability and himself out there. And she's just like, and so he's like, give me the ring. And she's like, no, I'm keeping the ring. And you're like, oh my God, you guys, production is taking the ring regardless.
Right.
Okay.
But it was such a jab then, if that was the case, even. You know what I mean?
Of course.
I was impressed by him because at the end he goes, I wish her nothing but the best and happiness. And I thought to myself, if I was in that case, I wish you nothing but unhappiness. Because you know what I mean? Like real talk, I would have been like, I wish you nothing but turmoil.
And you're going with the guy too who was
disrespected me.
So disrespectful to me. Yeah.
But at the end of the day, they're kind of perfect for each other. Like we talked about a little bit before. It's like they're both toxic.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think Marshall's going to walk away from this as heartbroken as he is right now, grateful for the fact that he dodged a lifelong situation.
Totally.
And he's going to find this person that's perfect for him.
All I was thinking about was when Marshall was at Tiffany and Brett's wedding. I was like, he's single now, ladies.
Yeah, I was like, that's the perfect place to go.
I'm like, I'm seeing some gorgeous bridesmaids, honey.
I'm seeing some smoke show paid actors in there.
Those are real friends. No, those are those real friends. No, that was some good looking individuals.
You
so
never
I'm
know.
like, Marshall, maybe
That's the
see
place to go.
somebody. But yeah, so obviously those two did not end up working out.
Rough.
Marshall was so gracious as he's been
He really
top to
was.
bottom.
And Marshall, take this as a lesson learned. As you walk away from this situation, realize that if you can be critical of yourself, be like, I ignored too many red flags.
Mm-hmm.
Because
we're all so guilty of.
We're all guilty of, but be aware that you were probably too willing to compromise your happiness over and over again to be treated a certain way. Like next time around, just kind of realize, hey, my happiness matters. You know what I mean? Because you're like so nice. And I just don't want you getting in another situation where like you could be taken advantage of again. So,
yeah. You know what I could see? I could see Marshall doing Love is Blind again.
I love that.
I could see him doing it.
Actually, come on The Bachelor.
He would be great on The Bachelor. Well, obviously, too, Justin
Just
Glaze.
switch franchises so we can talk with you in a little bit.
He's got his cousin, so
Yes.
it's like he's got an easy in. He definitely...
Hop on Charity season.
Oh, can you imagine?
Marshy.
Unfortunately, it's a little too late. It would have been great. Oh my gosh,
Last
Charity.
minute.
Don't even get me started. Those two. Oh my
That'd be cool.
gosh.
They
I
actually
could
would be
actually
perfect
see
together.
them
'Cause
together.
they're both so sweet.
I know.
Okay,
oh my
love
gosh.
it.
Just like a beautiful loving.
Planting
Love that.
seeds. Okay.
Okay, well, moving on, because
Yes.
if I think too much about Marshall and Jackie and Josh, I get more anxiety.
Yes.
So
We want to minimize anxiety, guys.
So obviously we had the wedding dress tux fitting. One thing I did have to say about this, which tickled me, it made me laugh so hard, was when finally our hosts, Nick and Vanessa Lachey, show up. We haven't seen them. We've seen them for, I mean, we talk smack on Jesse Palmer not being around. These two have been on screen for maybe 5 minutes max.
Yeah.
In all the seasons. They're not at the weddings. They're not at anything. Okay. So when Vanessa Lachey walks in and sees all the women and their friends and family, and she goes, "Do you think I would ever miss your wedding dress fittings? Ever?" And everyone cheers. 5 minutes later, she leaves before they try on any dresses. It was insane. It was literally walking in, like, "Do you ever think I would miss this moment?" Interviews them all for 5 minutes, leaves before they try on the dresses.
Looks over producer
She's
and goes, how did you guys pay for the whole day or just for like a couple hours?
Yeah. We've been filming for about 30 minutes, and I was also on set for hair and makeup for long enough. So, like, I'm out. I'm not watching these people try on dresses.
Listen,
I would have loved to be there.
I loved 98 Degrees. You know what I mean?
Oh, of
great
course.
albums.
Yeah,
you know?
amazing.
Never heard one, but I'm sure they're great.
They're fantastic.
If I'm being honest with you,
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen a show that didn't need a host more than this show.
Oh, you mean less? Didn't need to host less.
It was so unnecessary.
It's so
It's like they
unnecessary.
literally popped in for 5 minutes on the first episode and then show up at the end. It's like, we didn't need them introducing any of this stuff.
No.
It could have been like the voice of God. You know how they just have like the 5 people walk in. Like it could have just even been that, or not even. Like it was so unnecessary to have hosts. They showed up in 2 episodes out of 13. Like I don't understand
a voice narrator isn't even necessary on this show.
Literally
you don't
not.
need anyone.
You don't need anything.
Like, take a note from Too Hot to Handle that uses the cone, whatever its name is called, and she pops in every once in a while, and she talks. That cone on Too Hot to Handle talks more than any host on any of these other goddamn shows,
Yes.
and it's a voiceover actor from a cone. Okay,
You
like an
literally could have
Alexa
text
situation.
on the screen show up, episode 1 that explains the show, and then it's over, and then we all get it. We're all moving on.
Well, and now at this point, like 4 seasons in, season 5, we all know how this goes.
Nobody doesn't know what it is. Yeah, it's so silly that there's a host at this point.
Yeah, bring on the cone from Too Hot to Handle. I wish I remember the cone's name. Sorry, cone.
Sorry, Cone. Our bad.
My bad. Okay, so I mean, throughout the wedding dress situation, there were a few moments that stuck out. But let's just get right into the couples, shall we? Kwame and Chelsea.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody. Huh? I was duped.
You mean just like how they ended up together?
We've been talking. I mean, I will say this. First episode we recapped from the pods, we were both like, the 2 motivational speakers, Tony Robbins' team, they're meant to be together. That was like our big thing, right? Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, out of the pods, we're like, no, it's not going to work. It's going downhill. And now all of a sudden, here they are married.
Mm.
I mean, they duped me. They fully duped me.
You thought they weren't going to make it.
No.
Yeah, you thought they weren't going to make it.
Neither of us thought that they were going to make it. We were like, there's no way.
I said they would get married. They wouldn't last, though. That's what I said.
I think you said they weren't going to get married.
Really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure last episode, correct me if I'm wrong, everybody, but Evan said Kwame and Chelsea are not going to get married. And these 2 got married. And what was so interesting about it, and again, we'll get into more like post interviews with them next week, but I did hear a clip, because now I'm not trying to not spoil myself. So now I'm seeing all the posts. I'm like, yay, finally. Inundate me with all the spoilers that aren't spoilers anymore. I saw someone talk about how these 2 got an edit that really showed us any rough moment in their relationship, and how a lot of the people watching them were like, oh, they're meant to be together.
Right.
And we heard throughout these 3 episodes, numerous of their friends being like, oh, they're both the loudest, wildest, most intense of everybody, and it's a lot, and they're supposed to be together. And so I think we really got a certain picture of them that was, we're going to see all of their turmoil. And I'm not saying that turmoil's not there, but I think they're both just like really big personalities. So I think the turmoil also screams on the camera.
Got it.
Because they're just going to say it how it is.
Right.
And I think our initial take of like motivational speaker energy was right.
Oh, big time.
I think both of them are. And I think maybe Kwame is a little bit of like an Xbox Bachelor King, but is also
a Tony Robbins guy.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I agree. You know, for me, if I'm being totally honest, I think they definitely love each other. I think they got a bad edit. I agree with everything you've said. Now, I do still feel
yes,
like Kwame is not nearly as ready as she is.
Agreed.
So, like, if I'm just being honest
Agreed.
with you, even to the end, I was like, they clearly love each other more than we thought. You know, if they're still together, which I think they are, there's like this level of like, yes. But I still feel like she's got about 5 years on him when it comes to like where she wants life.
Oh, 100%.
Like, you know what I mean? Like she's because she's going like, I want to have kids now, but I'm willing to wait 3 years. And he's going, I don't even know if I want kids in the next 10, but can we meet in the middle at 5? You know what I mean? Like he's talking like, where's my Xbox? She's talking like, you're moving here, you know? So that's my thing is it's like, I think the connection is there 100%, but I do think the different stages of life is a stressful thing for Kwame.
I agree. And I think that it's probably like, bless them. I hope that the marriage is like absolutely thriving and it's just getting better and better every single day. But I do think that will be for sure a factor moving forward 100%. If they haven't already hit that roadblock in a way of, you know, like having those types of conversations, because that is a very real thing. But then there were moments like when they did their photo shoot.
Yes.
Their engagement photo shoot, which was provocative.
Yeah, she really wanted to get sexy with
I'm like, listen, maybe when we took our engagement photo shoot, those photos were used as our invitation.
Right.
So I was like, are we sending out sexy photos for like the invitation or like the wedding thank yous?
First of all, don't get it twisted.
And I'm like, but she found her person because he was fully into it. Like that to me, my whole body was shuddering. Bless them. But I'm like, she found her person. She's wanted to do a sexy underwear engagement photo shoot. She said like her whole life. And he was like, I love that I'm here in this with you. And he did. He loved it. Oh. I felt like he really did. I don't think that he was, I didn't get the vibe that he was like, get me out of here at all.
I felt like he was a good team player. Like he was great. He was like a good team player. But he even said like, can we start this thing slow, like clothes? Because I'm a little like, I'm going to need to warm up.
Oh, no, I'm not saying that he wasn't like, hey, let's not just dive in. But I felt like then afterwards when they were lying on the bed, he was just like, I love that you've
Once
had
they
this.
warmed up, yes. Now there is no doubt.
No doubt.
That those pictures will be hanging in their house.
I was just about to say, if you think
you're gonna walk into their house and kind of be no offense to them, but like you will be awkwardly kind of be like, do I look at it or not? Like I don't know what to do. That's her bending over with him like thrusting from behind, and I'm kind of just like talking to them while like there's a massive picture on the wall of them like fully having sex. Like that's going to be the energy. And she's going to be like, did you see this? And you were like, yeah, I couldn't not see it. It's 10 by 10 feet. It hits the floor to the ceiling of you guys in missionary position. Like this is, I mean, I see it. I don't know what you want me to feel about this. Like, do you want me to get aroused? My nipples to get hard? Like, what do you want with this? Like,
I literally wrote in my notes, I said, you know, the second that you open Kwame and Chelsea's front door, that's the main photo hanging at the end of the hallway that you have to look at.
It's in every room. It's in the guest room you're staying in. You're sleeping while looking up at them, and they're like, you know, bent over on each other, like thrusting, and like you're sitting there like sleeping, just being like, okay, there they are. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and they're going to be like, God, isn't this photo shoot great? And you're like, I mean, I appreciate that you love this, but like, I don't know how to feel about this. You know what I mean? It kind of reminds me of remember that one person in college who went to that guy's house and he had really rich parents and they had like murals of themselves all over the walls. It was really very fucking weird. It was
like Renaissance photos. It was kind of scary.
Went to this weird like rich guy's house and like they had like paintings, like an old king. They had oil paintings, like pictures that were turned into oil paintings of themselves and the family, and like
old
just
monarch.
the mom looking at you like this. And then she would play piano while you're sitting there eating dinner. She's playing piano, and the mural is right above her as she's playing piano, and you're like, "Get me the fuck out of here!"
That's a power move.
It was a powerful, scary kind of like culty move for sure. Anyway, just a side note there. But yes, there will be tasteful photos of them spackled throughout their house.
It was very much giving me like the episode of The Office where everyone had to go to the dinner party of Michael and Jan.
Yes.
And there's that like I have
and he
my
pulls the screen out and he's like
he's like I have my candle room.
She has 2 offices in their 3-bedroom. Oh my God.
I just imagine it wasn't in that episode, but I could have seen Michael and Jan having like a kind of provocative photo shoot like a photo right dead center, and everyone from the office is having to like interact with like, how do I say something? Yeah,
you're right.
Because they're looking at the photo going like, are you gonna say something?
Very like their energy is very Kwame Chelsea actually. Like there is like, she has 2 candle rooms and he doesn't. Oh God.
But you definitely listen, he was definitely struggling. Like, make no mistake. In fact, during the tux fitting, his friend, bless him, because he's in Seattle and all his friends are in Portland. His friend is this guy who he met in the pods who was also talking to Chelsea. And that's his buddy that's there. And the buddy's kind of like, literally goes, yeah, they're both 2 of the loudest people I've ever met. So this might be wild. This guy's going to be your moral support.
She's like, good luck. You're like, my best man there. It's like, hello, darkness, my old friend.
But Kwame is definitely like processing with him. Hey, I have to give up all this, and he goes, I gotta give up everything, and she doesn't have to give up anything.
And she's like, by design.
And this guy from the pod sitting there, and he's like,
He's like, totally. I didn't catch your first name. He's like, totally. Did you say that the show was going to pay for my hotel, or were you going to pay for my hotel?
But like, he's processing all of these things that he's like very, very scared and nervous about. Understandably so. That's like a lot to know you're going into a relationship, moving everything.
To go from lotion and Xbox to like kids, quite a jump.
Of course. But like sprinkled in finally since the early episodes, in these 3 episodes were those moments where you go, everyone around them is going, oh, these 2, they're wild. And they kept saying over and over again, we're extra. We're so extra. We live for this. Yes. And there were moments, especially during the Bachelor and Bachelorette party, which like, in my opinion, was like the most upsetting. The Love is Blind Bachelor-Bachelorette parties are always the most like upsetting moments ever, because they put these poor people in a random, bar, and the lights are so bright and there's no one except the cast in there, which is like no fun. There's no other human energy outside. So it's like, hey, we're just going to relocate, put a ton of lights and mics in this room. No outside human energy. Have a great bachelorette party. Like, it's brutal.
I'm going to be honest with you. This show is hell on earth. Now that I think about it, it truly is hell on earth. Like, nothing about this show is good. Like, I would hate fucking every minute of this show.
Well, apparently it is hell on earth from the cast.
Aside from the fact that you're being tortured, you got to go on a pod. Okay, you can't see anybody. Okay, so you're having to date multiple people in a pod. Then you come out. Then you're either like horrified by being unattracted to them, or you like them a lot. Okay, boom, you like them a lot. Now you're stuck living in some condo for a while. Then you get out of the condo. Now you got to get a bit of real life. Now you got to go to some fake ass wedding in like a tent where everyone's using the same tent. So you don't even get to like have your own wedding. Okay, and then it's like hired actors are mostly in the crowd, and then. You go to a bachelor party. You go to a bachelor party. It's not even your own bachelor party. You bring one of your friends, and you're stuck with all the other people that you're on the show with. So, like, they rob you of everything that would normally be an incredibly fun time.
They don't even give you a cash prize.
You don't even get paid. And in the interim, you might have your character absolutely brutalized and destroyed, and your whole life burned to the ground. Yo. Why do you do this? What's in it for you? Like I'm having a hard time seeing the benefit here of joining this show.
I think a lot of people walk away feeling that exact way, where they're like, "Why the fuck did I sign up for this?"
Sorry to be that, you guys. I'm sorry. I love the show, but I'm just putting myself in these people's positions, and I'm going like, "What is in it for you?"
I'm drenched in sweat.
It's like 90% of these people walk away. Characters obliterated, like anonymousness gone, you know, humiliated, heartbroken, and they're just back at home jobless because their job fired them because they were gone for so long. And I'm going, what? Why? Like, okay, anyway, that just came from the heart right there. I hadn't felt that until this moment when I was thinking about it was mainly the bachelor party that really got me, where I was sitting there watching these people stuck in some weird ass bar with the same people they've been with every day. They're just sitting there going, I'm in some bar with the cast and the crew again.
They don't get to relocate. They don't have like a party bus or a limo where like they can go with like all of their real friends and like go from bar to bar and do whatever they want to do and then all spend the night together. It's just like
you get to pick two of your friends to come to summer camp. That's what they did.
It's just literally lights, an empty bar with no music because they can't have music on in the background because
can't even have music.
It's just dead silent.
So asinine, weird music in the background that's like spa music because you can't have a. They probably have
zero music, Evan. Zero music in the background because then they can't play it. No.
Okay, sorry. You guys, I've been really just like off the rails with this, but I apologize. It just hit me like a ton of bricks. I felt it was at the bachelor and bachelorette parties where I really felt
my heart
like
sank.
A deep sadness.
Especially for like numerous of these people who clearly are like really in love and they found each other. I hope that they have other weddings, or I hope they get new bachelorette parties.
Yeah.
They need vow renewals. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For the love of God. Okay. Before we keep going, we have to take a quick pause. Okay. Family, listen up. I got one thing to ask you. Have you heard of Dipsea? Because they have all types of oral pleasures to explore. Oral like your ears, not what you're thinking of, okay? But actually, they have that too, if that's what you're into. And I am into Dipsea. Let me tell you what, Dipsea is an app full of hundreds of short, sexy audio stories, and they are sexy. You might go, audio stories? Will that be my thing? Yes. Just yes, because it's hot, okay? Dipsea brings these scenarios to life with immersive soundscapes and realistic characters, and I mean all sorts of scenarios through these stories, okay? Like discover stories about second chance romances, adventurous vacation flings, and hot and heavy hookups.
Ooh, and Dipsea is radically inclusive, with stories voiced by celebrities like ER Fightmaster and Luke Cook. And they have new content that is released every week. So in between listening to your favorite stories again and again, you can always find something new to explore.
And by the way, they also have soothing sleep stories, wellness sessions, and sexy stories you can read. Let Dipsea be your go-to place to spice up your me time, explore your fantasies, relax and unwind, or heat things up with a partner. For listeners of the show, Dipsea is offering an extended 30-day free trial when you go to dipseastories.com/momdad. That's 30 days of full access for free when you go to dipseastories.com/momdad. dipseastories.com/momdad. This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Look, it is clear as we have been recapping this that life is a journey. We are always learning new things, and especially things about ourselves. And one way we continue to learn and grow in self-understanding is through therapy. Hello, I had some therapy early today throughout what I was going through. Therapy is all about deepening your self-awareness and understanding, because sometimes we don't know what we want or why we react the way we do until we talk through things. BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist who can take you on that journey of self-discovery from wherever you are.
As you all know, I recently began my therapy journey, and it's truly changed my life and the way that I'm interacting with the world around. It's helped me understand the why behind why I feel certain things I feel, and help me move through those blocks while still being kind to myself.
And if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Discover your potential with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/momdad today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/momdad. BetterHelp.com/momdad. You know we love our therapy.
Of course.
Check them out. Okay, so back to Kwame and Chelsea. All right, so leading up to the actual wedding day, I will say, like we said, I thought we were getting sprinklings of, okay, I think they're more compatible, like how I felt they were at the very beginning. Obviously, there's this block because of where they're both at in life, etc. But even during, honestly, like the bachelorette party, yes, he still kept talking about the whole like Portland, Seattle thing. He was like going off on Seattle. He's like, you suck, Seattle, like in the ITMs and all that. But she's at the bachelorette party. She's dancing for everyone. She's like, my man will be hotter than any of these strippers here. Like, I mean, she is living.
Yeah.
But the big block for them at that moment was the fact that his mom still was not down.
Yeah.
But of course he was struggling with it.
course.
Like, how can you not be?
Yeah.
We find out that she is extremely religious. We find out that they're very close. They have a very close family. And so for him, the idea that his mom might not be okay with this is like, that's then when I started to process where I'm like, I think he would do it, but mom not coming and not being down for this is going to be why Kwame says no at the altar. But then we get to their wedding day, and I believe with my whole heart, and if Kwame and Chelsea are happily married, which I believe they are, and thriving and loving on each other, I believe the reason that this wedding happened was the fucking MVP of the entire episode, Barbara, Kwame's sister.
Yeah, totally. She kept that whole thing together.
Barbara is a star. She's an icon. Give her her own series.
Seriously.
Like, this woman came in gorgeous, electric, loving, kind. We find out that Barbara, through the midst of all the family turmoil, is FaceTiming Chelsea before the wedding and like letting her know that she loves her. She's accepting her lovingly into the family. She's rooting for them. She's telling Chelsea, like, remember what matters, all of these things. And it's just so beautiful. Like,
Yeah.
And then we see Barbara, she goes in, she meets Chelsea and like all the bridesmaids and Chelsea's mom. And then she goes and she sits with Kwame and she's like, Kwame, I know. She was great too, because she's like giving him shit. She's just like, yeah, you're not a great brother, but I'm a great sister. And, you know, she's doing this thing. She's like, finally, this is how you're going to not be the favorite anymore. You're going to be out of the will because of this. And now I'm going to get all this shit. Like, she was so great and fun. But she reminded Kwame that even though mom might not be down right now, like, you know, mom, even if she's not here, she's thinking about you. She's praying for you and loving you. And like, we're here for you. And then even right before, and Kwame's struggling. Yeah, you can tell. Before he walks down the aisle to wait for Chelsea, she is like rubbing his back and she's giving him some like relieving small talk. Because if you've ever gotten married, you know those butterflies, even if you're like so secure in your relationship, the butterflies to be in front of everyone, they're so intense. You're so nervous.
Big time.
And so she's just like, you know, petting his back and she's like, I remember my big day and I felt this way. And she was the star.
Yes.
Like, Chelsea wanted to marry Kwame. Chelsea has Barbara to thank that I believe Chelsea has Barbara to thank that ended up happening, because I think if Barbara wouldn't have been there, I don't think Kwame would have said yes, and not because he doesn't love Chelsea, but because the whole stress of the family would have been too great.
She definitely reminded him, like, we're going to get through this okay. Mom's going to come around. We're going to realize that this is all going to be okay. And I feel like he calmed down. Because she was clearly like man on the ground. You know, Barbara was clearly like loved by the family and a part of the family enough to be able to speak on her behalf and go, it almost seemed like we've been through this with Mom. Like, it was just really beautiful. Like, she really connected everyone, made everyone feel calm. Yeah, she was like the calming presence.
All-star. Like, she crushed it. Give her own show.
She was amazing.
She was amazing. I'm like, if I would have been in Chelsea's shoes and the sister-in-law I meet is Barbara,
we're good.
I'm like, this is why I'm marrying this man. Yeah. Like, this is the reminder. Like, was amazing.
Yes.
Amazing.
The one thing I will say about Chelsea that, like, could be, you know, has been kind of not a negative thing, but, like, you know, we've all said she can be a lot and she can be very intense and very, like, look you in the eyes and be like, tell me how much you love me. Yes. But I will say, if you're looking for a ride or die, I mean, Chelsea is a ride or die. She is a ride or die. That is a go into battle woman right there with you by your side. So I will say, if you're looking for just an absolute ride or die, that's your woman right there.
Oh, 1,000%. And, you know, listen, Chelsea walks down the aisle and I'm truly shook that she did not memorize her vows, because everything about Chelsea screams that she would have had them written the day that they left the pods, fully memorized. In fact, I was imagining her like getting a microphone and being like rolling the piano, and all of a sudden she's like on the piano serenading him. But she seemed a little nervous. She was reading her vows off the paper, and then Kwame's like, I'm making them up on the spot.
Yeah. That was just...
He made them up on the spot, and you know what? They were beautiful.
They were beautiful, and I was shocked by multiple people doing it on the spot.
Yeah, it seemed like it,
because it's like, I've been married before, and that's the last thing I want to do is like spitball that thing.
No.
And not only to spitball it, but then to spitball it on national television.
I know.
So it's one thing to spitball it like in front of 150 people, but it's another thing to spitball it and be like, whatever I say is going to be broadcast to millions. Write it down. But it's like, y'all are wild with that. Like, he's just like, no, I'm good. I'm like, whoa.
But he crushed it.
No, it was actually...
I was shook.
And what's his name I think Brett and Tiffany did the same thing. They winged it, or at least Brett did. And it was just kind of like they both did an amazing job. And I was like, dude, I don't care how good you are at speaking. Like, that's really hard to do.
Oh, yeah, with the camera
to not even like have written it down
everybody?
And memorized it, but just to like wing it. Amazing. Yeah.
And listen, he had said right before the wedding, he said that his biggest fear is that they crash and burn. And I think... Again, I think what we were shown a lot of was, yes, they are in different places and that it's probably going to be a challenge in their relationship. But at the end of the day, his biggest fear, like he said, is that not that he doesn't love her, not like, you know, that he has to move, is that they're going to crash and burn. And, you know, even at the end, after they say I do, she's like letting him know. They say I do, and she's like, remember, I'm your wife. She says, remember. She's like, I'm your wife, remember. And he's a little bit like, I know. And I was just kind of laughing as I'm writing, but I feel like genuinely that's the dynamic. And honestly, these two... God bless them. I'm rooting for I'm genuinely, bless everyone. I'm rooting for them.
Me too. I'm rooting for them.
I really am. Like I said, at the very beginning, I believe that they were meant to be in the pods. And I do think that Love is Blind, as people were saying, gave us a very specific edit of them. And that these two, I think they're going to crush their way through life.
I think so
together.
too. It feels a little bit like a failure to launch situation.
Sure.
You know what I mean? A little SJP, Matthew McConaughey vibes. He's kind of Xboxing and chilling in the city playing soccer. She's kind of like intense and like career driven, like serious. Yes. I want kids. And I feel like it's going to be a little bit of a learning curve, but he will actually probably be really grateful for the fact that it was kind of a intense situation that caused him to like change his life up, and he'll wake up in a couple of years and be like in a really great spot. That's the vibe I get.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think so too. So bless both of them.
Bless them.
And bless Barbara. If their relationship is thriving and crushing right now, I believe that it is due to Barbara showing up and being the MVP.
Yes.
Bless her.
Bless.
I want her to be part of my family.
I know. We need some of that positive vibe.
Okay, should we talk about Tiffany and Brett
Let's
next?
do it. Yeah,
I know
course.
it's not the order of it, but I want to talk about Tiffany and Brett.
Yeah.
Because these two,
I know. Beautiful.
from the
Truly
very
beautiful.
beginning, we all knew that they were going to get married.
Mhm.
And never once did they falter. Even there were a few moments that we got during the lead up, I believe it was in episode 10, where Tiffany started crying. They were in their condo and she starts crying. And she's like, I'm feeling really overwhelmed with work and having to plan all this, which I would love to talk when we interview someone from Love is Blind. I would love to ask them like how much they actually have to plan of this wedding
Right.
and how much production handles. But she was talking about having to plan everything with the bridesmaids and everything and feeling stressed with that and also with work. And it's all happening so fast, which a wedding in general is stressful enough. Having to do this in a few weeks is insane. And then also not knowing if the person's going to say yes or not on the opposite side. You're like, all of these factors. But they were sitting together and she's crying. She's stressed. He's so present. And she literally says, she makes a comment even like, I just don't even know if I even want to get married. And in that moment, I felt her so deeply because I felt the exact same way like 2 weeks before our wedding. I was like, fuck this. I love Evan so much. But I don't even think I want to get married right now. Like, can we just live our life together? Because I got family drama. We're dealing with all the, the placements of who's sitting where and who's fighting with who. And this is just a goddamn nightmare. And I'm not down and I'm exhausted and also have work throughout all of this. But when you're the person who's the partner on the opposite side and someone says, I don't even know if I want to get married. The temptation, of course, understandably so, is to be like, make it about themselves. Like, is it me? You don't want to get married because you're not in love with me? And that was the moment that I'm like, this relationship is so mature in like this. They might as well have been together for 20 years and worked through all the tough times, because the way that Brett handled that was incredible. He did not go for one moment. He didn't say, wait, do you not want to be with me?
No.
I've told you that I want to be with you. I've given you all the assurance. Not once.
Not once.
He literally just pet her and was like, I hear you. I
You didn't
understand
love
you.
You didn't love that at all. Hey, Brett, thanks for making me look bad, dude. Okay? That's all I could think about the whole time. All I could think about at the time was like, this guy's making me look really bad right now. Because she's having an anxious moment.
Yes, she was anxious.
She really boiled over.
Yeah.
She hit a wall.
Yes, understandably
She
so.
was going through what you're going through right now. And in me, in our marriage, I'm going, you good, babe? We good? And he's going, you know what? Let me take you on a plane trip.
He literally then plans for the next day. He takes her on this small plane and then they go to dinner after, and he's printed out these photos, these beautiful photos that he's taken of her, and then just like sits down with her and is like, I just want to let you know, like, I am in and I love you so much.
Yeah, all I could think about was, please stop. Brett, please stop. Like, and then all of a sudden, like when they got to the photos that he had taken of her, I was like, I hate you, dude. You're like you're literally like the Marvel hero of everything. I'm not right now. It literally was. It was literally like Iron Man versus civilian. So thanks, dude. Appreciate it. Good for you, Tiffany. Good for you.
I gotta say though, a small plane would not help my anxiety.
I was thinking about that.
I like this angle.
I did say I was like, I'd be a little nervous
This
about
is a
that.
good angle, bro. I
Toss you one.
appreciate
But Tiffany
that.
said something like she had talked about it. She'd never been on one. So it was for her. That was
she
like,
hated it. Brett, nice move, dude. You blew that one.
But then on the flip side too, it's like, I so appreciated her willingness to, she's just so forthcoming with him. And you can tell because she feels so safe with him.
Yeah.
But also she's just like, she does it in such a gracious way, which I lack.
Oh, she's so sweet.
Oh,
like,
she's
I've never
just-
seen someone have a mental breakdown of anxiety and be so sweet about
No,
it. She's
I'm
just
like,
it's just kind of a lot right now.
No, she's just like the way that she communicates, and I look and I go, "Oh, Tiff, I want to learn from you because exactly,
Right.
Because I'm like, she has just this ability to be so forthcoming and then like not hide how she's feeling, but also be like so aware then of how he's processing it, like how her partner is processing it.
Their dynamic's amazing.
And they're just like
Next.
they're just two incredible humans.
Yeah, they really are, man.
They're two incredible humans who found each other, and like they kept saying over and over again, it's so wild. And like Tiffany said, she said it when she was doing her wedding dress fitting and a few times later in the episode where she's like, this isn't normally my vibe. Like, I'm not the person who was like, I want to get married and like, I'm this like crazy romantic, She's like, I can't believe I'm doing this right now.
Yeah.
But I found my person and I somehow found them and I wouldn't have found them otherwise. And yet I found this person in this crazy experiment. And you're like, wow, this is incredible. And then they end up meeting his family. They meet his brother and his dad, Herbert, who I am literally obsessed with Herbert.
He
like,
was great.
what a beautiful man. I'm
Yeah.
obsessed with the fact that she sat down and he was just like, you're going with him? Like, look at you. You're so
Right.
gorgeous. And he
Yeah.
was just so... And they just knew her energy is so amazing. Angus and Herbert knew immediately. They were like, this is it.
What a cool family.
I know. They're amazing. And then, you know, everything... They, the whole time, you know, bachelorette party, they're just, everything's perfect. I don't know what to
Yeah.
say. But then they get to their wedding day and there is a moment where I loved seeing Tiffany wedding day. It was like all of a sudden it hit her.
Yeah.
It was like you could feel her guard, which she didn't, it wasn't like she had, but it was just an understandable guard leading up to it. And it was like, oh my God, I'm marrying the man of my dreams. I hope he says yes too. And it was like, everything was hitting her.
Yeah.
And he finally meets her dad. In that moment, I mean, you saw me.
Yeah.
Evan wasn't watching it with me. I came in, I'm bawling.
That's when you were crying. Yeah.
I was bawling.
Well, what I loved about that was just what I really felt having a daughter was like, Brett is the type of guy that is the dream guy to talk to about this because he was just so humble in front of the dad, but also extremely confident in his love for his daughter. So it was like a really good mix of like, I'm so confident in marrying your daughter. I'm confident in where I'm at in life. I'm confident in all these things. I'm not cocky about it, but I'm confident. In the same token, humble enough to be like, I'm here to serve your family. I'm here to be a part. It was like the ideal presentation of how to talk to a father-in-law.
It also, though, too, when I was watching it, what was making me really cry is I'm like, there are two men sitting down and immediately getting very intimate in conversation. And I think because of our culture and everything so often, it's like, you know, you don't see two men sit down and get really vulnerable very quickly with each other. And both of them immediately opened up about both of their histories and, you know, what their family's dynamic was like growing up. And so gracious in their vulnerability. Because to be that vulnerable, it is gracious. To be vulnerable with someone.
Really strong.
So strong.
And like vulnerable at the same time.
Which is true strength.
Yeah, totally.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was amazing.
And then there was a moment where then Brett said, I love my family, but you know, I did grow up, and this is the first time I think we hear this, that he said, I did grow up with a mom who struggled with her mental health.
Yeah.
And he said, I saw my dad, gonna cry, I saw my dad never leave her side.
Yeah.
And that's when it all hit me like a ton of bricks.
Why
I'm like, that's Brett. Which
he's seen.
You're talking about how you're like, Brett making me look bad. I right away thought of you because I know for myself, one of the reasons why in our relationship, you have been such an incredible partner to me, especially when I struggle with my mental health. But even if I wouldn't struggle with my mental health, is that you had a parent growing up who struggled with mental health, and you witnessed that. And then you also witnessed your other parent who stood by their side throughout everything.
Right.
And it just was a moment where it was like, I knew it. Like you just see, and in that moment I go, Brett's going to always be an amazing partner.
I agree.
You know?
Yeah.
And I was a mess.
It was beautiful.
And I was a mess. But then he gets his father's blessing, And probably favorite part of the whole episode, because I've never related to anything more, is when we saw Brett get upset for the first time. And that was because Brett got his suit and he didn't like the way that it fit. And literally, this man, he's our fashion king, and he put his suit on and he looks at his brother. He goes, does this look like me? Does this look like my style? And then his brother's kind of like, dude, just kind of, and he's like, no. This is my day. I'm supposed to feel good. This is my moment, okay? These pants, they don't feel like me. And I have never related to anything more in my entire life. Because, listen, first of all, in the fashion biz, so I'm like, I see you,
Sure.
I see you. But if I don't feel like myself in my outfit, day's ruined. Like, day is ruined. So I was literally living the whole quote unquote drama that happened with our wedding when we got the teaser with Tiffany and Brett. And he was like, not on my wedding day. And you're like, oh no, are they breaking up? Was that his outfit was not to his liking. Like, he is the king we love. And this man, he is a man of action. He had an hour and a half before the wedding was starting, and he went straight to a tailor and was like, please fix this.
Yes.
And he's like, I could have done this shit myself. And I knew there was going to be drama when he was with the tailor. And he was explaining to him, he's like, I want to look angelic. I want to look royal. And I'm like, I feel him, because I feel this way when I'm trying to explain what I want. And it's never exactly what you want. And I knew it was going to happen. But he got it fixed.
He got it fixed?
Just in time.
You could see that and like, oh, okay, that's what gets his blood going right there.
And I'm like, I see you.
This is not supposed to happen.
I see you, sir. Okay?
Totally.
And I relate wholeheartedly. My day would have been ruined. Like, I can say this because it happened on our wedding day. Like, I was so excited to marry you. And yeah, of course, you feel the nerves a little bit. But I was like, yeah, duh, I want to be with you. Like, I'm confident in that. And they bring my wedding dress in and the fit's wrong. No. And I stood in front of the mirror and I was like, my day, I was literally like, I'm like, do I want to get married anymore? I was like, I don't feel like myself. This is off. It's not what I wanted, and I wanted to end. I wanted right there. I wanted to send everybody home. So I felt him deeply.
Meltdown City.
I saw him.
You felt it.
Our true king.
Yes.
But then, these two, oh my God, they get to the wedding and his pants are fixed. He's happy. She walks down the aisle. He starts bawling. The energy in this room, the crowd is cheering.
Right.
The second he walks in, everyone's cheering. And then she walks in and everyone's cheering. And the love was palpable.
I loved how after they did it, she's like, let's go hook up in the side room. That was awesome. That was like such a beautiful way to like be like, oh, they are really just the best. Because it's like, after all that, after all the pants and, their amazing connection, all that, she's just like, let's go bang it out.
Yeah, I know,
It was fun. It was
and
like
he was laughing. He
it was like
loves it.
the fun side of it,
They're just a perfect fit
They really
together.
are.
And you just could feel it by the energy in the room. There wasn't a single person in there that wasn't thrilled. Marshall showed up. God bless him. He was struggling, but he was there because he knew. He's like, these are my friends. They're supposed to be together. And everyone was just living in that room for that love. And then, at the end where they're just like, I had chills all over my body when they walked away together and they're holding the umbrella because in the middle of their wedding, like the thunder like roars and lightning cracks and everyone's like, it's good luck. And I'm like, oh, that happened on our wedding too. It started pouring rain and rain is good luck. And then they walk away with that umbrella and they're like, we're Mr. and Mrs. Brown. And I'm like, let's be together for forever.
It was beautiful.
It was so good. So massive congratulations.
Congratulations, guys.
What a beautiful love story.
Yeah.
What a beautiful love story.
Thanks for making me look bad, Brett. Appreciate you, bro. Good luck.
I'm obsessed with both of them.
Yeah, they're amazing.
They made me so happy. Evan saw me. I was weeping through their entire
100%.
wedding. Like not like crying. Like I was a little dry heavey. Like it was a little too much for me in my current emotional state.
Beautiful. You needed a little positive lift up. You know what I mean?
It's true. Thank you guys. I appreciate you. Okay. And then on the flip side, we have Paul and Micah.
Oh boy.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
What are you doing, you crazy bitch? You crazy bitch. Dude, what was that?
Well,
That was like a go-to. He's like, "Why are you doing, you crazy bitch?"
that was called a lot of alcohol.
Dude, she was toast.
I mean, her and her bridesmaids at the bachelorette party were.
She was twice as hammered as they were. They were hammered, but she was like, she couldn't even talk, you crazy bitch.
Listen, granted, it was her bachelorette party. To her credit,
She has every right to get wasted. I'm just saying,
she can get wasted. It was more like, take the phone away. Like,
well, it was funny too because crazy bitch was like her move. Like she called all her friends crazy bitch, and then she
Paul,
FaceTime Paul and said, "You
bitch.
crazy bitch." And he's like, "How are you?" Like clearly had like a beer. And he's like, "Are you good?" She's like, "You crazy bitch." He's like, "Okay. We'll talk later, I guess."
So with the bachelor and bachelorette party with Paul and Micah, we have Paul. Now, this is the beginning of a very interesting point to me of Paul. Is Paul, we see Paul continues over and over and over again to say throughout, honestly, this entire series, that what he loves about Micah is that they see the world the same way. It's the same comment over and over again, which I think is extremely important. I found it very interesting that later, when we are in
him and his science brain, we don't get that. Why do you have a science brain? Why do you talk all logical and stuff?
But when we see him later, right before the wedding in like his groom's suite or whatever, he's saying to his friends and his groomsmen, we see the world the same way. And it was very interesting to me to hear his brother and his friends be like, that's weird because you seem very much not the way you're describing that you see the world, which was very interesting to me. He was saying, Micah and I, we both kind of look at the world as like, look at this chaos and let's just like explore the world and laugh at it and see it how it is and whatever. And all of his friends were like, you're not like that at all. Like, what do you mean you guys see the world the same way? Like, that's not the way that, and his brother was a little bit like, that's how you see the world? Like,
it's like I've known you your whole life.
I don't think so. So maybe that's how Paul wants to see the world.
My whole theory, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and which I will say I very much relate to, because that's what Paul was describing is a little bit like how I feel. Like I'd be like, oh, Evan sees the world. Evan and I see the world the same way. But I'm like, no, you're able to more laugh and I'm more of like stress case, over processing everything, over analyzing everything, pure anxiety all the time. And if I were to say to, let's say my mother, Evan and I see the world the same way, my mom would be like, what?
Yeah.
Maybe you want to see the world that way, which is, you know, it's great to have a partner then who can balance you out. But like, you don't necessarily
I
see
personally
the world
think
that way.
To boil this whole thing down, to distill it, I think Micah represented something that he felt was lacking in his life, which was spontaneity and let's get drunk on the weekend and just have fun.
Yeah.
And I think that like he really wanted to be that guy. He wanted to fulfill that. He wanted to be that guy. So in the show, not working, not in real life, he's able to be this just like fun-loving, free, like everything's fine. But really denying the way he actually functions, which is like logically stepping, you know, everything's a system. Yeah. Like everything is a process. He doesn't do anything.
Which is why he loves a mushroom. She's his mushroom.
Yes. So for him, it was a little bit like meeting a girl at a festival.
Evan, shut up right now. I literally wrote in my notes, I said, Paul and Micah, they are the couple that meets at Coachella.
Yes.
They're both high on mushrooms.
And they're just like, life is life.
But they're both high on mushrooms for different reasons. Paul is high on mushrooms to see God, and Micah's high on mushrooms to dance more.
Yes.
And they meet high on mushrooms at Coachella, and they're like, oh my God, we see each other in the field. We start making out.
Yes.
This is true love, and it's amazing, amazing, amazing. And then they start dating at Coachella, and then they leave Coachella, both thinking they're mushy friends, and then they realize that
they could not be more different.
They could not be more different.
And I think that's what happened. I think that's so funny because it really is that, you know. It's like he's clearly like no one, like he kept saying the whole time, she's the best. I love her. We're so connected. There's no doubt in my mind.
They made rings together.
And then you leave at the altar. It's kind of like you're trying to convince yourself there's no doubt in your mind, but everything is screaming at you. She is so opposite of the way you function in the world, and that could work. But for him, you could tell when all that nervousness was when he was talking to his dad and his stepmom, and all that was hitting him. You could tell he just woke up one day and went, "Holy shit!" Like, she is not the person I can actually function through this life with. She has been a break from my life, but not the person that I can actually process life with. And like, we don't have the same values, the same ideas, the same like things we want. Like, you could just tell he's like, I don't want to move to Scottsdale. Like, none of this is what I want, but I just had fun and I got caught up in it. Like, that's literally what happened.
And Bachelor and Bachelorette Party, you saw the two differences. Like, he's sitting there with like his cousin and then science friends, and they're just like, wow,
talking about philosophy, and she's just like, you crazy bitch.
And then they're drunk and FaceTiming. When Shelby got on FaceTime and she's like, hey, Paul, and he goes, Shelby.
She's like, Shelby.
So hard.
Which to his credit, like if I met someone and they're friends and I hated their friends, like it would be like a major problem. Like I'd have to.
Yes, we talked about that.
Yeah, I'd have to triple love that person to the highest level to get over that. So
1,000%.
It wasn't. I didn't get blown away by the fact that he left at the altar. I got blown away by the fact that like he didn't really show any signs up until then that he was going to leave. Like he never said like, I don't know if this is going to work. He never, like, Kwame reeked of like, is this going to work?
Yeah.
You know, Bliss is like, who knows? Like but it's like, Paul was rock solid. If anyone was going to leave, I kind of felt like Micah might leave. Like,
I thought Micah was going to leave.
Right, but the fact that it ended with Micah saying, if he would have said yes, I was yes, and I was always down to be with him, but it was always on his terms whether he was going to say yes or not. I was like, holy.
Now, it was interesting to me because when she was getting her bridal fitting done, Shelby did say, Shelbs with the T.
She's like,
you can't trust Shelbs. Shelbs with the T actually was like, I like Paul. He's a very nice guy. I don't think he'd ever hurt her. I was like, wow, he doesn't think you feel that way about him. But she was like, Micah, though, you never know what Micah's going to do.
Right.
So I don't know if she's going to say yes or no, because who knows with her, which was an interesting moment for me because at the very end, when they were standing at the altar and the officiant says, Micah, yes or no, and Micah says, Paul, you can go first. I had two thoughts in my mind. I'm like, there's two things happening, and I don't know with Micah. Okay. Because on the one hand, like you said, I was pretty shook that Paul pulled the rug out, because even though he was like, oh, I'm struggling and I'm processing, we didn't see that much. We had just seen footage of him during the rings being like, I love her. And even during the tux fitting, he was like, she's the one, I love her, da 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 da. So maybe what we didn't see, he was a lot more on the fence. But there was one of two things when she said, Paul, you answer first, that are possibilities. Either one, it is what she said, and it was like, what I needed to know from Paul for me to say yes was that he would say yes first, which I understand. Listen, not a fan of Micah's behavior, obviously, or her friends, obviously. If you're going to marry somebody, I understand that logic. Like, I need to know that he's going to say yes because I'm not sure where he's at. The other option was she didn't want to really, and she didn't want to be the bad guy, and they asked her first, yes or no, and she doesn't want to be the one to say no.
Yeah.
So those were the two things I was juggling with a little bit, and I don't know how I felt walking away. The skeptic in me goes, she didn't want to be the bad guy,
no,
so she threw it at him.
I disagree entirely.
But
I think she was all in.
You think so?
All
but I was
in.
saying that's the other part of me that goes, yeah, maybe she was.
Because she said at the end, she could have said after he ditched, well, I'm glad he did, it wasn't going to work out.
Yeah.
She said, I'm devastated because I wanted it, and if he would have said yes, I was all in. It was always, though, him being the one that wasn't sure if he wanted to do this or not.
Yeah.
And so, like, the fact that he did this and waited to the last minute, blah, blah, blah. But I do have a question, though, before we move on. How do you not have a conversation about this before? Can someone explain to me how there's even a surprise? How do you not just go, hey, by the way, like, we're not doing this, right? Yeah, okay, but we don't want to get sued to, by not going to the end. So let's just play this out. But like, how do you get surprised? How do you not have these conversations? Like, how do you let it be?
Maybe there are literally cameras 24/7.
Yeah.
But let's make something clear. Again, not a fan of Micah's behavior on the show. or the friends. I think it says a lot.
Yeah.
I can't help but feel that way. You know what I mean?
I mean, the fact that like Irina was her closest friend, and then she's got this Shelby person, like she clearly has like a pretty like,
you know, and she's drunk calling him
thing
you
here.
crazy bitch, and then the friends are like, well, who knows with Micah? Like the whole energy
it's
is
a
very
weird
off.
frenemies thing going on.
Yeah, so that is like, to me, is like 5 billion red flags. And I think Micah needs to be held accountable to the way that she handled certain things on this show, 100%. But I will tell you, if they had said yes, like let's just say both of them said yes, Paul, this might be very unpopular and I might get so much fucking heat for this. The way Paul was conducting an interview in his groom suite beforehand, if I would have been Micah and we would have said yes to each other, I would have freaked out. It literally was, his groomsman suite was an interview the entire time of, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? And it was like, I get feeling nervous and not knowing 100%, especially in this situation the day of. But that was wild. It was a full conducting of an interview beforehand. And then in the ITMs after, when Paul shut it down, which again, understandable. If that's not your person, you shut it down. But like him making comments about her and her mothering skills, to me, that would have been like, you don't need to go there. That's a whole different side note that's like very personal. You don't need to like say that you could never picture me as a mom. It was a lot.
Unnecessary.
When Micah left and was bawling and the friends were laughing and Shelby was like, this is what I wanted the whole time, I was like, bro, if I was Micah and I saw my friends, I know what Shelby's saying. She didn't want me to be with Paul, whatever. Disowned. This is your reaction to see me sobbing? Disowned. There were a lot of layers to this whole Micah Paul situation where even, which I don't even remember if they talked about in the pause and maybe I fully missed it, but then when we see Micah with her mom, that apparently her mom, I believe it's cancer that her mom had been battling, that we see then Micah with her mom during the wedding dress fitting, and then even like in the bride's suite where she was like, I didn't think you were going to be here. And that was a moment too that I had to pause and go, is this person like, was Micah in a situation where like she really wants to make sure that she didn't think she was going to have this moment with her mom, and she wants to make sure she has this moment with her mom. And so maybe she's wanting to step into this marriage quickly too, to like ensure that there's this special moment. Like, as much as there's that part in my mind that's like, oh, was she trying not to be the bad guy? I'm also like, the flip side is, oh wait, like she wouldn't put her parents in that situation. Yeah, there was just a lot of things that I was battling. But man, I will tell you, the moment when Paul's in the groomsman suite and his dad comes in with his stepmom, I'm like,
You guys the president and the first lady? Like, what's going on? We're proud of you, son. And she's like, never forget, you're strong. It was like, yeah, it was very weird. Like they were like presidents. They were both like world leaders. Like they had like UN leader vibes.
They were both so gorgeous and
they were
so
just
put
like,
together. They looked like they were participating, like they were Hunger Games. Like they were in the Hunger Games.
They were the people that like ran it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And they wouldn't give too much to the camera. Like they weren't like given the whole. It's interesting to think about. They were like, you know what's best, son.
You know
they were
the
given
answer
like
to
full
this.
like political
The Illuminati
answers.
has already planned your life out. Just go with the plan. It was very like, whoa. I was like scared of that.
They were like very nice and
yeah,
but they were also like
they were like powerful. They had
truly
that
terrifying.
scary, powerful thing where it's like they'll never do anything that's out of sorts, and they're just like, fantastic.
Wow.
Son. I understand you're heartbroken and you're terrified right now, but we all know the plan. Have a good day, son. It was very like, whoa.
Yeah.
I was not expecting them.
No, me either. I was expecting
they were both
his
billionaires,
dad.
100%.
100%
You know
billionaires.
what I mean?
I was expecting his dad to be like mushy Paul.
No, he was they were both billionaires.
Billionaires.
They were both world
It
leaders.
added an interesting dynamic to everything.
It was.
Yeah. So the two of them, yikes, that was real rough. Definitely interested to watch this whole reunion situation and then watch all the interviews afterwards.
I'm
because
excited.
it's going to be, I think they're going to be a hot topic of conversation. But like I said, I felt watching it very torn because of knowing how Micah and the friends and all that have been the whole time. But then also understandably seeing like, dude, this was like a 180. Paul has every right to be like, nah, I don't think this is my person. But it did feel like it came out of left field a little bit.
Agreed.
It was intense. But, you know, shout out to Mushy Paul.
Shout out to Mush Paul.
Shout out to Mush Paul.
King of the Shrooms.
King of the Shrooms, baby.
King of the Earth.
I'm sure Mushy Paul is getting so many DMs.
I think so as well. Hot science,
That's my
babes.
guess. Oh, yeah. Okay. Zach.
Finally.
And
Zack
Bliss.
And Bliss.
Evan.
Can't believe it. It's kind of crazy.
They got married.
Pretty wild, isn't it?
Zack and Bliss got married. I was so happy. That was the other one I'm sobbing my way through. Sobbing my way through. These
and
two.
and at first it just reeked of like, ugh, brutal, like Zack. But I'm saying early on, it's like Zack made the mistake.
Oh,
and
sure,
he's like begging Bliss. Now, like the first time they went to coffee, it was like, ugh, it's kind of rough. Now, having been through everything, it's like very beautiful.
I mean, these two together. So obviously we knew Bliss's mom, who is
An angel.
the goddess of my life,
angel.
a literal earth angel.
And then the opposite.
Dad.
Her dad.
Zach
dude.
meets
Worst nightmare.
like
If you're a son-in-law, worst nightmare.
like Zach was literally like, I'm really scared of being judged by somebody, and then he met Bliss's dad, and it was
He's just the archetype of like
didn't crack a smile once. He was so intimidating.
Well, it just for me, you know what I mean? It was just archetypal, like fake alpha dad trying to assert dominance and like not trusting his daughter and not giving her like any sort of credit. And then, being like, could you be more basic? Like you don't fish or golf. We can't hang then. Like it was just like, could you be more like just, I don't know, condescending and rude?
It was rough.
And it was what was so
rough.
funny about
when
it too.
Zach started to panic, by the way, when they sit down and Dad's just kind of like, oh, you don't fish, you don't golf, great. And Zach's just like, well, you know what I'm really passionate about in like the criminal justice system. And he starts like going on a full rant about what he's passionate about, like in his career space.
Yeah.
And the dad's just looking at him sideways. I was like, Zach, stop.
Yeah, Zach, stop talking.
No, it's beautiful. You're passionate,
Yeah,
but
right.
you gotta stop. You gotta stop. And Dad's just like, yeah, I don't really care about any of that.
But I will
stuff.
say, man, like, yeah, and it was so whack too, because it was like, hey, man, you're divorced. So my thing is not about divorce being bad or wrong or anything.
Of course not.
It
But
was
it's more like be
well,
humble and understanding.
first of all, you can't speak on what your daughter should or shouldn't do. Mm-hmm. There's nothing wrong with you getting divorced from your ex-wife at all.
Obviously.
But you then can't tell your daughter how to do it right. Because there is a level of like, you don't know. You figured it out. You remarried. That's fine. But then you can't tell her that she doesn't know how to do it. And it was just like so disrespectful. It's like, it was just so like, it was like if I was divorced, I would have been like, hey, I've lived through some things and I'm going to impart my wisdom and my experience to you. And here's some of the mistakes I made. Here's some of the lessons I learned. As you're going forward with this, here's some ideas. But to be like, you're making a mistake. This is stupid. He's not the right guy. This is a nightmare. Why are you doing this? I know it's best. It was like, and then and the only reason why I bring this up is because she called him out on it. Yeah. She's like, yeah, I know about divorce. You taught me.
She's like, I'm a child of divorce.
She's like,
I experienced the trauma as a child dealing with it.
So
like, I'm very aware.
I know.
I don't want that to happen to me. No, when I was watching
he was disrespectful too. He's like, you interrupted me, but I guess I'll just have to deal with it. Like, it was just like,
as
whack.
a child. And then she looked at him and she goes, excuse me, like, you know me.
Right. Like, I'm
you
smart.
know me. Like, please, do you think I'm going to jump into this? Like, I'm a 32-year-old woman. Like, you think I'm just going to like
mom did. Mom said, I respect you. I trust you.
Mom was 100.
Yeah.
And in this situation, it was definitely like myself as a child of divorce watching it. you and I ended up having an interesting conversation afterwards because we watched it at separate times, but I brought it up because I was like, it's so interesting because the dad looked to her and said, or in ITMs, he was like, meeting someone and getting married to them in like just a few weeks, that's crazy. That can't work. And I'm like, it is actually kind of interesting to be like, you know, what 60% of marriages end in divorce, and that looks so different for everyone. I'm like, I don't know how long Bliss's dad and Bliss's mom dated. Maybe it was 5 years and yet it didn't work.
Right.
So what's to say that, you know, after 4 weeks it doesn't work? Like it's marriage. It's a very interesting concept to be like, this won't work because it's not exactly the timeline that like, you know, we're used to or comfortable with. And you're like, yeah, but it might not work even if you guys date for however long.
I can't recall exactly when it was, but I believe it was one of Zach's friends.
It was one of Paul's groomsmen.
Paul's grooms. That was like,
Yes.
that like brought this whole point up.
Yeah.
He goes, like half of the marriages fail anyways.
Yeah.
So who's to say the right way to set this whole thing up? Could you know, who's to say
I know
that
he was
because
like,
you don't know each other for
monogamous
very
culture says this, and like,
he's kind of like, everyone fails at this thing anyway. So how
Yeah.
could anyone tell you that just because you guys haven't known each other that long, it's going to work more or less? He's like, how many stories have we heard of people that have been married for 50 years that met each other a week? How many stories do we know that we dated for 7 years and got divorced? It's like, it's all the same. So you might as well try this because, you know,
if you feel it,
if you
do
feel
it.
go after it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I thought that was a very interesting concept. But I like my biggest issue. Ooh, it was trigger watching it because of some family dynamics. I was just like, oh, Bliss, I feel you. Just what was hard for me is it's like, listen, I understand a parent coming in being like, what the heck is going on? God bless Zach. He's a little awkward. It's like, who is this? But when it comes down to what we've talked about with Bliss's mom, where it's like, but dad, you know me, respect me as a human. And that felt like disrespectful, where it's like, you're just kind of bulldozing. And I thought it was so later on when, you know, Zach was in his groomsman suite and he was talking to the guys. And he was so respectful and sweet about her dad, where he was like, I actually really liked him.
The fact that he didn't talk shit was crazy.
No, he's like, I actually really liked him.
I would have been like, bro, her dad's an asshole. Can't wait till I never see that guy again.
No.
And he was just like, you know what? I respect the guy. He's a good guy. You know, we didn't really connect, but that's fine. And he even handled the beating so well. He took a beating in that room and he never cracked and said, well, I don't care what you think. I'm marrying your daughter. He said, well, I told you. He kept smiling. Like, the thing about Zach that I love is that he is a fighter.
He really is.
Like, he didn't cower and go, I'm not going to even hit up Bliss because it's going to be too embarrassing. He says, I'm going to let her take a million moments and take those shots at me about how I chose.
Understandably so.
Exactly. He deserved them and he took them. Most guys would have said, I deserve them. I don't want to deal with them.
Yeah, my pride's too big.
Your pride's too big. He took them. Then he pushed through the dad, took it, keeps fighting for Bliss. And I think that's the key. He keeps fighting for her. And I think that's where Bliss is like in with him, is like, she sees that like, he survived the initial kind of brutality of this whole situation, and he keeps fighting for her and loving on her. And so I think that's what's giving her hope of like, I think our futures are going to be okay because he keeps fighting for me.
1,000%.
Even though his, you know, sister-in-law had her shades on the whole time.
Dude, sister-in-law or stepsis or whatever was rocking aviators, like mirrored aviators inside the whole time.
By the way, she's 9.
She was young.
So this wasn't like a 23-year-old girl who's like trying to be a rock star.
No.
She's like literally 12.
Yeah.
And she's sitting there with aviators on during the whole dinner. Never took them off.
That was like a top 10 iconic.
Like,
that was top 10 iconic moment. I'm like, are you a fucking superstar? Whatever you're doing, I follow.
Also,
because you are young and you are such an icon that you are not. You have like cameras and lights in your face and you keep those shades on the whole time. I worship a little bit. Like, I worship it a little bit.
I worship a lot because you know she boils the blood of her dad. You know, dad is furious.
Unless dad's like, yeah, that's my girl. Like, she's not bending down.
No, you could tell by the way he treated Bliss.
Yeah.
That he's like, there's a way to do things and a wrong way to do things. And the fact that the daughter's like, really? Shades on. And the dad's just like,
oh my God. When dad brought up like the sister and was like, yeah, I gave the guy a job, and then I was like, don't throw other family under the bus during this interview.
Brutal.
Like, again, remember, national television, you're throwing more family drama in. It was so rough. But then, you know, we end up making our way to the actual wedding day, and thankfully Bliss had her mom in the wedding suite with her,
sweet.
who her mom, you know, a literal, like we said, an earth angel. Simultaneously, Zack then is in his groom's suite, and his grandmother and his sister come in, and that again was a moment where
Heavy.
dry heave and crying watching it, because you see the idea that Zack's mom isn't there hit him like a ton of bricks.
And dad.
Because
That was heavy. Because the first comment was, I'm really sad that someone couldn't be here today. And that was dad. Because then grandma goes, and also your mom would have loved to have been here. So I believe what happened was like dad wasn't there.
Okay.
And he was dealing with the weight of that. And at the same time,
Yeah.
thinking about the fact. So I think that was kind of implied because the sister and grandma were like, yeah, and we're, you know, it's like, sorry that someone couldn't be here today. And I don't think that was mom, because then they brought up mom afterwards. So it was like, he was dealing with the fact that both his parents weren't there to support him. And like, you know, the trauma there is pretty heavy. You could sense the weight. When
his grandma said she'd be the loudest one in the room if your mom was here. And that moment was really impactful. And then she was like, you know, and Zack and ITMs was like, I know she's here. Like, I know she's here.
It's beautiful.
And then flashing back to the idea of like, you know, Bliss's mom being like, I'm your mom now. Uh-oh. Yeah. Tears are coming right now. That's a huge weight to go into, like this huge day. And I know for myself, you know, same thing with Kwame, like in obviously a different way, but like, you know, I know going into our wedding, there was dynamic of like newly divorced family and all that. I was like, it was so dramatic, but like, I can't relate to how intense that is. And like, I think a lot of people, the idea of going into it was such a big day, and then in front of the cameras on top of everything too, and like on national TV, like when you've had such a painful, huge loss, like how intense that is. And it was just it was so incredible to have someone like Zack be so vulnerable, like and share with everyone, like the audience, what was happening. And I'm sure that was really impactful for a lot of people. But Zack was there.
Yeah.
Bliss was his person, and he was locked in. And, you know, God, Bliss looked so beautiful. She was like a fucking princess. She looked so beautiful. And then I have to tell you, though, right before her walking down the aisle, when she's standing in between her mom and her dad, ooh, I was triggered. I was like, oh, I felt that in my gut.
You're so bruised. Taking shots up until the bell, man. It was like
that like if you're a child of divorce who's been married, or like, you know, had a big moment in your life when like both parents are there and they're very different, you felt that moment in your fucking gut. Like, I'm telling you, as a child of divorce, I'm seeing her in between mom and dad. And dad is like throwing shots at Zack, and then mom is just like, no, he's perfect. He's wonderful. And not only are you processing them having different feelings about your future husband, but also then they're on either side of you. And clearly there's tension there with them because you have two very different personalities. You know what I mean? And poor Bliss is having to process all that then too before walking down the aisle. But bless her, she was processing it beautifully, a level head. For me, wedding day, didn't process it so well. Like, it's a trigger to her. I was watching it, I was like, bringing back all these memories of like, the divorced parent thing, like on big days, you know, whether it be wedding, kids, like whatever it is. It's a lot to process.
Big time.
But she walked down that aisle, and I did not know what Bliss was going to say. I was a little bit on pins and needles.
Like it could have gone either way.
I knew that she loved him deeply. I knew they loved each other deeply. But like I said, I had this feeling that maybe she was like, let's continue this journey together. But like maybe marriage right now is not in the cards. But they said yes. And the two of them after, when then they were dancing to their special song, was so beautiful.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
And I'll get into it next week when we talk about the reunion and everything, but I will say that that is one thing that I did get into, is I know that Zack in the reunion was talking about the receipts that he has, because I went on his Instagram and I saw the receipts he posted, and they were about his mom, and I read it to Evan through like tears. What an amazing man.
Yeah.
And she seems like an incredible human being. And I think they're going to have a really beautiful marriage together.
Oh, it's going to be great.
And I'm really happy for them. And even in the whatever crazy world this fucking show is, this show's fucking nuts. Mm-hmm. And again, next week we'll dive into the ways that it has been treacherous on its with its contestants.
Right.
But I have so much hope for these couples that we saw get married. God bless them.
Yeah.
And that was a wild season.
It was awesome.
I gotta tell you, it was
really
amazing TV. It was amazing TV.
It was really,
and
really
Netflix
good.
got me because all my predictions for the most part were wrong.
Yeah, and I liked it too because it was right up our alley in a different way.
In a different way.
So I had a really great time changing it up, and it was beautiful.
Yeah.
Thanks for going on this journey with us. We have one more next week.
Yeah, we got one more. The reunion,
The reunion
and
is
then
fire.
all the tea following,
Yes.
all the interviews, and there's still interviews happening. This tea is like happening in real time.
Yes.
Current interviews are happening, so we're going to be fully up to date with like all the current. Finally, we're going to be up to date with all the current gossip of what's going on.
Thank you guys for just being. We have one more. Obviously, I don't want to say anything, but yeah, we have one more week of being behind. But I appreciate you guys.
Because we'll be talking more current stuff.
That's true. But like, it's just been doing our time and having our family join us. It's been awesome.
Yeah, and next week we'll let you all know what we're going to be diving into next.
Yes, stay tuned
before charity season, and I think from the messages we've received that you all will be happy with what we're going to be diving into.
It's going to be awesome.
I think so.
I mean, we have to do call.
We got to do call home. I'm literally, my tears, like literally just
it.
talking
She's been crying
about.
for 2 weeks, by the way, just like nonstop crying.
But
Every time I walk in the house, just like, yo.
But Zack and Bliss, when I read that, oh man, I just so sorry everybody. She's a little choked
emo.
up. Yep,
She's emo.
She's emo. But let's do a call home as I'm emo. Let's do a call home.
Remember, you can always call home.
Hey, Mom and Dad. My name is Sarah, and my husband and I got married this past weekend.
Congratulations.
We've been together for a year and a half and living together most of that time. And generally, our relationship has been very stable. There's not really been a whole bunch of conflicts that have arisen, but we do sometimes have arguments. And those arguments are usually about things that are outside of our relationship.
Mm-hmm.
It's either like arguments over the dishes, or if there's something happening in current events that we don't 100% see eye to eye on, we can have a regular, debate that's fair and reasonable, but sometimes they'll kind of go off the rails and it'll get a little too heated, and then we walk away from that not feeling very good about how we've spoken to each other. So my question is, what are some ground rules in your relationship that you found helpful whenever you're having an argument to make sure that you're still treating the other person respectfully, even if you don't agree with what they're saying, or things can get a little bit emotional? So just anything that you think would be helpful, or also just things that you wish you maybe had known whenever you were first married that could have kept some arguments from getting a little too feelings hurting. So thank y'all, though. Love y'all and love the show.
I don't know about.
It's crazy. We've never had this before. So good luck. We wish you the best.
I don't know if I was like stuff that we should currently, or stuff that we should have known when we were early on, or like now, because it's still it still can happen. So first of all, congratulations.
Congrats on getting married.
on your wedding. This is definitely
okay.
Yeah.
Can I throw out the thing real quick?
Please.
Okay. So here's how this. Here's Here's how this normally goes, if I can be honest.
Yeah.
In our relationship, we'll have disagreements about religion, whatever, right? Like we all talk about these things. So there'll be moments when you let's say you're discussing a fine point and you disagree on something or whatever. If I'm being honest with you, just between us, I usually say something that offends Jess. Or like, you know what I mean? Like
It's true.
or I'll take a point, or we'll kind of discuss something, you know, and it'll kind of like, you know what I mean? Like
You'll
Jess,
say something offhanded,
Yeah.
and I'll be
Jess
like,
will be
hold
Jess will be
up,
tweaked
my
by it,
guy.
right?
Yeah.
So I'll just say we don't have any ground rules. I have a personal ground rule that I've never discussed with Jessica.
I got the full name.
Don't talk about it. Or just honestly, here's what I do. I find that like anytime you're going to discuss something that's like, let's say, controversial between you two,
Yeah.
I always look in terms of like best case scenario. How does this play out?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say she agrees with me. Okay, then you just go, cool, yeah, isn't that totally right? Yeah, totally. Worst case, it's a knockdown drag out for 2 hours. Because it's kind of like, you know, hit homes, and let's say it's religion, and you feel a certain way about the way you believe, and your partner kind of slightly different. It can become offensive and hit you in a deeper way than the partner you're talking to with, right? Like, let's say you have a personal connection to some sort of belief system, and your partner doesn't even believe in anything, and then they're like offending the shit out
Is
of
this
you.
specific?
No, you know what I'm saying? Like you got to think in terms of like best case scenario. You fight this out, and like, who wins? Nobody. Everybody's just sad. So personally, for me, my personal ground rule is if I say something, or we start talking about something, and I sense even the slightest bit of like, we're not going to be on the same page here, I release. Only for the fact of this isn't worth pushing for. Mm-hmm. I only will push if I feel like it's worth. We need to get on the same page because it's essential to our relationship.
Yeah.
But if you're just discussing like stuff out there in the world, and you can totally live with each other's different opinions on certain topics, I say keep those your own.
Because there's some things out in the world that you can't live with different opinions.
No, I'm saying if they're not stuff that's like deal breakers, or like very important to your marriage, or like your like,
belief system.
Your belief system moving forward as a couple.
Yeah.
So like for me, if we start talking about something and I start sensing even the slightest bit that like this, we're not on the same page about this, I'll slowly just kind of bring something else up and back away, because I go, it's only going to end in either we just kind of agree, or it's going to be like offensive, or someone's going to get hurt, and I'm going like, it's just not worth it. I'm just trying to have a good night with you right now. So that's my personal kind of approach on it, is like, you know, what's the goal here? Like, what am I trying to accomplish by talking about this?
Yeah. I would say for me, you know, my biggest, like, again, like 500-foot view.
Yeah.
Obviously, when you're in the moment, it's hard to not like get emotionally charged. But I think about in the past 17, 18 years we've been together, how much our opinions about things have changed, right? How much has changed in general from the way that we like who does the dishes and who cooks and who takes the kiddo to school and who's the breadwinner, to like how we look at religion and the world and all that. Like, so much has changed. Think every year it's
like
different.
Whole new thing.
It's a whole different like iteration of the year before, which I hope continues, because I think the most beautiful thing about life is growth and learning and shifting, and not being stuck in your ways. So, you know, when I look at us and our history, I go, okay, well, I see so much shift constantly, and this is the person who I want to be with for the rest of my life. That's the goal. So I'm assuming we're going to shift and change, and I'd like to do that together. So sometimes the way then, if I know there's certain topics they're going to be like, you know, hot button or potential arguments, I go, okay, I think maybe a good way, if this is my partner who I want to grow with in life together, to talk about this might not be to spark an argument, but rather a conversation, and focus in a conversation form versus a debate. Because I think some people get charged and excited by debates, and it can be like a healthy way for them to like grow and move. But I think a lot of people can do better with just conversation. So if it's something that I feel like, oh, for instance, let's talk religion, that I feel pretty passionately about, like a certain type of spirituality that I feel like would be really good for Evan to focus on, instead of like a nothingness, right? Instead of being like, I'm going to try to come at him and be like, this is where you're lacking and this is where you're wrong and whatever. I'll be like, well, I hope we can move together in life. So I'm going to start asking you questions instead. And I think that that can help the conversation more, is the question asking, versus not just the full ignoring it, because it is something that I do want to get to, but also not, like poking the bear and being like, you're wrong.
Can I adjust my answer a little bit?
Sure.
I agree, but that requires two people to be in that same space.
Sure.
So my thing is like, if you sense that person is not if you're not in a place to be open, and you sense they're not in a place to be open, it can be a very dangerous road to go down. Now, if you both are willing to be...
Yeah, you might want to step away for a moment, and then you can maybe go back there at a different time when like the ground is a little more neutral. But if you know that person is like highly triggered by that conversation or by that idea, then like just know that like, that's always a dangerous path to go. And if it's not going to help your relationship, like don't mess with it. But it's like, if you can both find a way to be like, hey, let's agree that whenever we talk about this topic, we're very open. Yeah. And we're not going to try to win each other over. And I think that it's definitely important to like be able to sense out when the ground is hot, and like maybe when it's better to like pull away and then come back when like everyone's feeling a little more neutral. But I think with things that like you do feel passionately about enough to get into arguments about, right? Again, whether it be the dishes or religion or whatever. You
just got to know how to talk.
I think it's a little more like, if this is somebody who I hope to spend the rest of my life with, then we are going to be hopefully moving and growing and shifting together. So let's focus on the idea of that if I know that I'm going to be shifting and growing, my partner is too. So hopefully we're going to be growing in the same direction and growing together. And the best way to maybe facilitate that is by conversation. And conversation and communication is so important. And sometimes when that starts on the grounds of arguing, the other person becomes defensive, even if they don't give a fuck about it.
They'll
because
just try to
you
win.
can just get defensive when someone is, going to argue with you.
And on the other side of the token, if I'm like you guys, Jess has changed my mind on more things than I can describe. I can tend to, my initial gut thing is to like defend my view on it, because it's just like, that's how I was raised too. It was like, you just gotta like fight for your view. So I've committed in a lot of times to be like present, to be like, oh, I'm sensing that inside of myself, delete that from myself and be open to what she has to say. And I can't tell you how many times I've actually just been, you're totally right. I would have never agreed to this if I wouldn't have been open, but like, you're totally right. This makes total sense. I wasn't open to this idea, but now I'm getting it. So like, as long as you both can be committed to like being willing to change, then you'll teach each other a ton. Yeah. But you also got to know, if you're not there and you could sense they're not there, to like not poke the bear like you were saying.
If you're both open to change, like again, that's what's an essential part, I
open
believe,
to teach each other,
in human development, is trying to continue to grow as you get older, and not doing the whole can't teach an old dog new tricks. That's like, don't do that. Man. Don't stay stagnant.
You don't do that in other parts of your life. That's what's funny about it. You don't do that. Like, if I was going to tell you about how to like, let's say I know a lot about gardening, and like, and you didn't know anything, you wouldn't be like, no, that's not how you garden. You'd be like, teach me, dude. Can you show me how to do this? But it's funny how there's certain topics in people's lives that we shut down learning new things.
There's the essential part to growth and development is like the opposite of can't teach an old dog new tricks. Just be open to that. So I think if you're both on that page.
Yes.
Yeah. I know it's tough because I know there's certain like hot button things, and especially where it's like, oh, he never does the dishes and I'm frustrated, or he always does them and you don't, and he gets frustrated. I know there's those hot button things, but I think if that is a center focus of wanting to move together, I know it's it can be tough, but I think that has been helpful for me at least.
Same.
So, but again, we still argue about that type of stuff all the time. That doesn't go away.
Of course.
It's just the perspective. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you everyone for joining us on the Love is Blind journey. It is not done. We have next week. We're going to be diving, like I said, into all the current tea and the reunion. I'm actually very excited to watch. Apparently what was a shit show of a reunion.
Let's go.
What I've heard. And then make sure to tune in Friday too.
Yes,
This Friday we
second
have a
episode this
Friday
week.
episode, so tune in. We love you all, and yeah,
Have a great day and a half until you listen to us again on Friday.
again.
Let's go. We love you.
Bye.